But yeah, whenever you're ready to go, give me a countdown.
We're ready to go for Xillia, so let's do this. And just need to set the settings, and then we start the timer as... I'll do a countdown now, so 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, good luck.
Here we go.
So I'm being boring and doing Milla side like all the other runs so far in the marathon. Hopefully eventually this game will get to do a Jude side, but in the marathon, but it's not going to be this year apparently.
Yeah, I remember there were talk over the years about Jude sides. People tried to route it, or attempted, I should say. We haven't seen like a full route going on, which is actually sad because I prefer Jude definitely. I also love Milla.
Yeah, the Japanese side, I mean the Japanese community for this game has a Jude route and it's reasonably decent. And it's pretty fast time at this point, but it is a lot harder of a run.
Oh yeah, definitely, I can see that why as well. Especially in the later game.
Yeah.
But the Milla side is definitely shorter because the opening scene is already further into the game where Jude would be. And also she's quite strong at the beginning actually. She is pretty overpowered.
Yeah. Early game we're going to gather lots of materials to get the weapon shop to a certain level. In this game you contribute just random materials to level up shops to be able to buy better equipment, and you can level them up as much as you want, although the game is obviously scaled to make it so that you can't get it too high without going on insane grinds.
Look at the size of this place.
Unless you progress the story further. And
yeah, you basically
really
have to level up your shops in order to get further equipment, stronger equipment. The earlier the better.
And one thing about Milla's side is that you get a lot more free equipment than you do on Jude's side, so if you play Jude's side you have to pay a bit more attention to your shop levels. Although it's still not that much. The only shops you actually level up are the item, weapon and food shops in general, in both sides. It's just that in Jude's side you do more of the weapon shop earlier on.
The Lord of Fire.
No, Jude's side isn't really unoptimized in the Japanese community. It's actually a pretty good run now.
It's actually a pretty good run, awesome.
It's 3:13,
I definitely
I think.
have to check that. Yeah, the problem with the free equipment is whenever a character is leaving your party and comes back at a later point of the story, they are getting updated equipment. And for Milla, that is actually a huge part, because Milla is technically skipping a couple boss fights that Jude actually has to do. And that's why there is such a difference between the equipment level when you play with Jude instead of Milla. So with Jude you have to definitely do some work to keep yourself updated, because equipment in this game is actually really important. Besides currently we've seen the Lilim board, which is basically your skill board with additional stats as well. You're going for a certain route here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, early on we just want to boost Milla's intelligence as much as possible and also learn Jude's art, Soaring Vortex. And Soaring Vortex is a utility art that's very useful on the first two bosses, because it can knock them down freely and also gives us a fire type link art. We'll get to link arts pretty soon. Yeah, I got a small amount of materials in that first dungeon, but most of them are going to be coming after these first few battles. So now, Milla's lost the Summon Spirit. She's not quite as overpowered anymore. She's still a little better than Jude, at least until we can set up Jude to be more overpowered, which will come shortly, but against these scrub enemies we can just spam Milla's Windblade move and it's pretty effective.
We can only get to the Sea Haven via the path that leads to Talum Medical School.
Even considering that Milla
I'm
lost
sorry to
most of
put
her
you in
power,
this
she's
situation.
still a very
It's
strong
okay.
character.
Besides, I
And
still owe you for
especially
saving
if you
me.
kind of like try to
Also,
master
after crossing
her
Central
or
Plaza, turn right
put
at
a
the
little bit
first
of
corner.
time and practice
If it
into
flew
her
were here,
arts
I'd
combos,
never have to
she
be
can
drenched like
go
this.
on insane combos.
Yeah, she's got
Which
the
also
whole
look
aerial combo
pretty
thing
good.
going on.
Yeah,
For things like skill videos, that's her main thing. And yeah, Xillia 1 is one of the easiest splats in the series, for sure. It still takes a bit of grinding, but nowhere near some of the others.
it's a fairly straightforward and mostly consistent run, if I remember correctly. There's not many places where you can actually get screwed over that hard.
Well, talking about any percent or the platinum.
Any percent.
Yeah, any percent Milla is... Well, it has a lot of RNG that can make you lose time, but most of the time it won't kill you. The RNG is mostly going to be when or if bosses overlimit in fights. But it is very RNG based in that regard.
Let's finish
Alright,
this
so
quickly.
we have access to link arts now, but it's not time to use them just yet because we don't really have any of the link gauge filled in. So a little more wind blade slam.
From cooperation and friendship. Not bad, right?
Yes, I quite like it.
Yeah, the link system in this game was actually my favorite overall,
Right there with you, buddy.
because you're basically having additional effects happening. For example, the character that is linked to the leading character has a special support ability, which is different for every character. Jude in this case, for example, picks you up if you get knocked down with an additional heal. Was it Alvin? No, not Alvin.
Alvin
I
guard
hope that
break?
is- It is. Okay, it was actually Alvin.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the chipmunks. His guard break is actually really, really good because guarding can be annoying on bosses, and he just breaks it, and you can combo on.
Yeah, we'll be using the guard break ability against the first major boss in the run. Although how much we actually need to use the guard break part of it kind of varies. I get some materials for free out of chests, just not very many. So I do need to pick up most of them out of the bags that are sitting around on the overworld, as well as the glowing points. I'm getting a lot of money, which is vaguely useful to some degree, but not really something you can route around. So in general, the shopping is designed to work without really getting any extra money. So on this fight, I have a full overload gauge for free, so I'll spam that fire link card I talked about earlier. This one I didn't unlock without getting Soaring Vortex. Unfortunately I whiffed the third one, but that's okay. I have plenty of SP, or sorry, TP, so I can just
Let's move onward.
spam Windblade now and finish the fight, and that was a pretty good fight. Since I managed to group them up fairly effectively into the link hearts. So again, just grab as many bags and stuff as I can, but I will avoid ones that will obviously lead me into fights, like that enemy having the bag next to it.
Xillia's enemies behave quite predictable. For the most part, when an enemy sees you and gets aggro on you, they are running in a straight line as soon as they start moving. And they're doing that for like 2 or 3 seconds. The only exception is enemies that have like a little steam cloud over their head. They aggro you earlier, more direct, and they also turn faster. So they are not running straight up for a certain amount of time, they're actually stopping earlier if you're getting past them and stuff. But overall, they are fairly predictable.
Yeah, the enemy
So
speed does
dodging
vary a
enemies
bit.
It does, actually? Okay.
Well, it seems like it anyway. The horses in the second trail, the Xillia trail, are definitely pretty
yeah,
fast.
right. Yeah, okay. True. I remember them.
They're the most annoying ones to dodge in the run. I mean, there are some enemies that are annoying to dodge later on, but for this early part, the horses are the only ones we really have to be careful of.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a couple of nasty dungeons later on for encounters. Especially the one before Nameless Anomaly is the worst dungeon to get an encounter in, honestly. Worst single dungeon to get an encounter. Just because they take a long time to run from and they have annoying enemies.
And we are notoriously under-leveled.
Yeah, I mean, the under-level part is the reason why it takes so long to run away, really.
Yeah. Yeah, fleeing time is on the level difference, so the higher you are, the faster, or the higher above the enemy you are, or the enemy's average, if it's multiple enemies, the faster you are escaping. If you are below that, the further below you are, the longer it takes.
Yeah, but thankfully shortly after that annoying dungeon we get access to Elisa's chicken run ability. Of course we'll be meeting Elisa a little later on, but her ability lets us run very, very fast from pretty much any battle. And in fact, at that point it sometimes becomes faster to take a battle instead of waiting for it to get out of the way. Not very often, but there is one particular spot where it is faster. If you get an encounter blocking the rooftop on Kambala, like Jep just said, then you take that encounter. You do not wait for it to despawn unless you got very good luck. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying enough attention to that wolf, and I got into the encounter. But at this point, the runtime is still fairly quick. But yeah, I wanted that shining point, and I'll get it now, I suppose.
Oh, you were
There's
still
another
chasing you, yeah,
there's another enemy.
that.
I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the shining points can be a bit annoying to pick up because they have weird hitboxes. But that's only really an issue with the extremely low or extremely high ones. I'm getting jetpack feathers which are completely useless for the speedrun. Something that a casual player wants to get as many of those as they can in general, but something that just wastes my time and makes me have to pick up more shining points and bags. Yeah, I'm pretty low on materials so far, so I'm going to have to be quite aggressive in picking them up in the second trail. That's not too bad, but it might mean I have to take some awkward looking detours. Though there is a backup strat right at the end. If I don't get enough materials to get to level 7 on the weapon shop, then I can just run around the
Check it out.
area I end up in and
Unbelievable.
loop around it, keep picking up materials until I have enough, which I will probably just do, instead of going with a weaker weapon.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you can
Do
make the
everything
run
to
work perfectly
secure.
fine with a weaker weapon, but for the sake of consistency and using the strats I know, I'm going to force my way into the stronger weapon. Yeah, you can get 0 extra encounters in this game, but the guard on the Kambala roof is pretty much RNG based. And as I was saying, if he does get in your way and you just want to fight him, it will waste a lot more time waiting for him to despawn than it will to just encounter him and quickly run with Chicken Run. Alright, so like I said, I'm
Also,
going to go out of my way a bit for materials. And we can see the horses have started. He's quite a way away, but he's still going to be a bit of a threat. So I need to be careful and... Okay, I got another feather. I'm not going to go for that bag just because of the enemy placement. Okay, I got a decent amount of land crabs. They're an okay material. But I still don't have enough materials overall. Wild bird eggs. I can eat this chest, which... has some more orange gels. More gold. I've got a lot of spare gold, like at least 1,000 at this point, but that doesn't really help me.
already.
Well, I got a 600 bag and a 400 bag. Most of the bags are usually 200.
Wow. Oh boy.
Like the base payout from any bag is 200, but then sometimes they can randomly double or triple.
Yeah, I remember that. True.
At this point in the
Wow.
game anyway, obviously the base payout increases later.
Of course.
Now I need to angle up a bit to be able to pick up that I Freeze treasure for 2000 gold. That one is scripted, and as part of the guild I'll need to actually deal with the shot. More jet black feathers. It looks like I'm probably going to have to do a loop around the first area of the falls place. That depends on what multiplier I get at the shop. I can quickly have a look and see what my investment is. If I get... There are 12 different multipliers I can get, and right now if I get one of 6 of the 12 then it's enough, and if not then I'm going to have to go for a run around this area. So we'll have a look. So... That's bug times 3, that is not a good one. Okay, so let's go for a run around here and grab some more materials. Because most of the materials I've got are something else. They're either fish or... Alright, so I'll try now, and if I still don't have enough, then what I'll do is I'll leave and come back and respawn the materials in here. It shouldn't take too long, but at this point it probably would have been faster to just go with the materials I have and go with the weaker weapon. Okay, no, I have enough now. So picking up those extra few is enough. So level 7 lets me buy Jude's second weapon, and I accidentally pressed left instead of right because I'm used to shopping with left. So now we sell our old weapons, buy maximum orange gels and apple gels. Actually I have enough to get one life bottle as well because of all that extra money. That's pretty rare. Usually you don't buy any life bottles there, and you don't normally even max out orange gels, or sorry, apple gels. Quickly set some arts. The Greater Demon is weak to fire,
Well,
so
after you, milady.
what we do is we keep Milla out of the way by having her spam Fireball from a distance. So I set up a macro on Jude to let him command Milla to do that. And as for Jude himself, I set up the Soaring Vortex art that I bought on the Xillia Morb all the way back at the start. And for this fight, that art will mainly just be used to trigger aerial fire, the fire link art, for maximum damage. Soaring Vortex will do a bit more utility later on. And now we'll enter Greater Demon, who is normally not too hard of a boss. He can be a bit of a troll occasionally.
Yeah, fairly straightforward patterns overall. If you've seen them a couple times, then you know what to do. There was only one attack that was fairly complicated to learn for me, and that's the arm grab. But he's always grabbing with the same arm.
Okay, I didn't do quite the right combo, but it's okay. I'm getting a somewhat annoying pattern, but... So, the main thing here is to spam... Well, Milla died to that. Interesting. Well, that's okay. I just need to watch which side of him I'm on, because obviously Soaring Vortex will move me to one side. Aerial Fire will actually move me back to the opposite side, and I need to be on the side that his Arc Laser isn't. That's the main thing. I also want to build up the link gauge to full, but not completely use it. I don't want to actually overlimit on this fight again. Wow, that actually hurt me. So for now I'm not going to use any more link art. And he's dead, okay.
That's how we do it.
That was a pretty slow. And I used the life bottle, but that's basically just the life bottle I bought. The extra life bottle I bought earlier.
Yeah, you got some extra, so that's okay.
Yeah. That was a pretty bad fight, but I mean, it still looked pretty standard. And apart from Milla dying, there wasn't anything extraordinary about it.
Yep.
And what I have is my full overlimit gauge for the start of Jow, which is what I want. And from now on I don't pick up any materials for quite a long time. I will have to start picking them up again eventually, but at this point if I pick them up then they do almost nothing. At least the ones in bags. There are some fixed ones that I will pick up. I need to back that guy away from the jump down. In this game, you have to press X to interact with stuff like climbs and drops. Unfortunately, in this game you have to actually press it instead of hold it. In Xillia 2 they made it so that you can hold it, which makes it a lot easier to get away from enemies that are chasing you when you try and interact with something.
Yeah, you can just pre-hold it, and as soon as you are hitting the right spot, they are grabbing on.
Yeah, and in this game you have to mash and hope that you get your input registered before the enemy catches you. So usually you want to bait them away so that you get a decent window.
Here we go. This must be one of
I
the
don't
temples.
know how many battles I got because of that, because I missed the right spot and ran past him mashing.
Yeah, that could cause me, in certain circumstances, to get an encounter in the evil dungeon that we'll be getting to after the next boss. And I just need to try and avoid talking to that woman who's nearby the thing that I need to interact with, and we did it.
All 4 temporal stones.
I appreciate your efforts. Let's bring them to the shrine beyond the village.
Also, you are seeing that that the NPCs, the village people, when Milla is coming along, they are actually going on their knees. If you are maining Jude, they are not doing that. So there are actually also little bits, depending on what part of the storyline you are at, or you are playing, like NPC interactions and stuff. Which, for me personally, because I look at these small details, it's actually really awesome.
Yeah, they
And
definitely...
you are also not seeing what's happening on the other side as well. So whenever Jude is going away, you have no information what's happening with Jude. You don't see anything. Same with Milla then.
Yeah, you get fed information through skits, but obviously that's not going to happen in this kind of run. So... I mean, obviously we know where to go, we know what's going on. But the characters are woefully misinformed.
Yes.
The moths are another sort of annoying enemy, though not here. It's their later iteration, which is the more troublesome one. Oh, whoops. In Jude's side, you have to skip 3 cutscenes there, and apparently I had a little bit of muscle memory for doing that. In Milla's side, you actually have to leave the shrine.
Jude?
I mean, I have gone through the Jude route at some point.
Okay.
Like I said, it's difficult, and I speak from personal experience, although, to be fair, I'm not even that great at the Milla route. But the Jude route has a lot more fights, which are like the hardest ones in Milla's. And some of the hardest ones in Milla's are even harder in Jude's. Hi Hammerzam. You are amazing.
The pain.
Yeah, you sort of mitigate it by buying more food and getting a better weapon,
Probably
but
the only solution you have at that point.
the main thing about Jude's side fights is honestly that you have less room for error. You're lower level, at least until about halfway through the game, and so if you do make a mistake, you die. Like, against Hammerzam in Milla's side, if you, like, take a combo unguarded, you'll generally live. In Jude's side, you can just straight up die from full health if you make a mistake. Otherwise, executing the boss fights is actually pretty similar.
I mean, even on Milla's side, you are using Jude, at least at the beginning, quite a lot. Which makes sense, his shoulder tackle is a quick animation, plus it has a stun chance, that's why we're using it.
Yeah, we need Jude over Milla because Milla, like we said, we were talking about her aerial combos. Well, I think that those are mostly dependent on you getting a lot of art usage. And obviously we don't have the time to do that. Plus, they are also dependent on having a decent amount of TP, which we don't have, and lots of skills, which we don't have. So just in general, Milla becomes not quite as overpowered as she can be in late game. So now we have quick travel, one of the earliest games to get it, or one of the earliest times you get it in any Tales game. If not perhaps the earliest. So we can just
I guess it's
go straight.
probably the earliest, yeah.
We can start skipping
Still
over
locks you
backtracks
out.
now.
It still locks you out depending on the story progression, so you can only go to certain areas of teleport points.
Yeah, they want you to go through certain cutscene triggers. But generally you can skip going over the same route twice, except in the obvious part coming in the last quarter of the game, where you get to do a whole bunch of walking over the same routes again. And yeah, like I can't quite quick jump back to the port yet because I have to see this cutscene when I leave Hamil, and then I can quick jump back to the port after that. So now we're coming up on perhaps the most notorious boss in a Xillia speedrun, if not necessarily the hardest anymore. The boss called Zhao. He can still kill me because I'm not like amazing at him, but the new strat is pretty good when it works and also reasonably consistent. Possibly even 100% consistent in the right hands, but like I said, I'm not as good, like not that good enough to say that it's going to be 100%.
You're gonna be fine. I trust you.
If it's not first try, then it should hopefully be second try, so should be able to cruise by. But to begin with, I do need to start paying attention to optional stuff just a little bit again. And what I'll be doing is activating a side quest. That side quest's eventual goal is to get me a really good material. The reason I'm able to skip picking up random materials is that I can get a really good fixed material by completing that side quest, which is worth so many shot points that it basically substitutes for having to go to any random points at all. And then a few chests that just give slightly less significant ones that top me up to the point I need to be. Yeah, this forest is coming up as where Zhao will fight us at the end. It's a somewhat tight squeeze through the passages as well, so there's a chance that I get trapped into an encounter. Actually, there's another one. Another place where you can get trapped into a pretty much guaranteed encounter. And it's in this forest. After you crawl through the second crawl space. But first we're actually going to get Elise into our battling party. She joined the party back in Hamil, but she isn't able to be used in battles just yet. That will very soon change.
Into an awesome supporter. Elise is like a really good support character.
Yeah, and she'll actually get to serve as our partner in the upcoming Zhao boss fight, with her support ability falling into an odd use here. Alright, well, this fight is fairly trivial, it's just against a tree. We can't do too much to speed it up. But we can use that fireball macro that I set on Milla for Greater Demon, because this guy is also weak to it. So that's about the best thing Milla can do. Looks like Elise linked to Milla pretty much instantly, so we're losing out on her small amount of melee damage, but that's okay.
That was exhausting.
And without having got EXP food on Greater Demon, which used to be a strat, we have to level up Alvin to level 6 on that fight, but since you still always get level 6, it's fine. Alright, and now I can progress on with the dungeon. And I'm coming up on the second crawl space, and if the enemy here is positioned wrong, then I can get forced into an encounter, like I said. Or at least not be able to
I think we can squeeze through here.
avoid it
Make sure none of
without
us get our
wasting a lot of
clothes
time.
stuck.
So I didn't get those orange shells because I was apparently still full on them. I'm not sure how, but that was a thing. We'll be doing a massive menu. I'll just do it now, I suppose. Doesn't really matter when you do it. So again, I'm going to set up to get specific things on Jude and Milla, but Alvin and Elise are just going to get autoed. Hold on, just a sec, this one. Sometimes we can kind of bait the game into going where we want it to with the auto by just selecting one or two skills. And yep. And I'm going to do a slight safe strat here to make Joe a little more consistent at the cost of a small amount of menuing time. So we'll set her to reduce numbers instead of protect allies, otherwise we would set everyone to protect allies. And that would be the usual strat. So everyone, we don't want them to link by themselves because link time actually matters right at the end of the game. Hold on, what is it? Link tactics, support the rear, that's right. And you're already on that. Swap these two, put everything to 0. And set up some arts quickly. Set up splash on top and not that. Wind lance there. Okay, I think I got everything, but I might have missed like one minor thing. Hold on. No, that's fine. Sneak past that wolf. Run around that enemy. And now pick up some more chests. So what I did there is I basically set up the party skills and arts. And also their strategy to be able to take on Zhao effectively. He is a fairly obnoxious boss. But those strats will be used for most of the game anyway, so not all of it is just for him. Although I did set
You
Milla to
dropped that
reduce numbers
early.
specifically for him. Also, we have to do very little strategy menuing for the rest of the game, which I suppose is good.
Oh, definitely, yep.
Like, you don't have to constantly move around the strategies. Pick up the life bottle, well, singular life bottle, and then head into Zhao himself. Okay. So I'm gonna start off with an overlimit chain, and then go from there. I'll try and talk as I go, but I am going to try and concentrate as well.
Concentrate as much as you want, man.
I don't want to.
Well, you're one to talk.
Wow, that actually hit me.
Okay, this is actually really new, because I've never seen you splash getting used in this fight.
Ah, damn it, I got killed through the link.
So also, yeah, that's happening if you're linked and the linked character gets damaged. Your character, your
And
controlling
again.
is
Okay, this isn't going well. I don't
damaged as
think I
well.
have a life bottle for Elise, I'm not sure.
Ooh boy.
Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring.
Ah, damn it, I've got a really late death here, I think, yeah. This is gonna waste quite a bit of time. Like, he's almost dead, but I have to die because too many people died. Ah, that's unfortunate. He had almost no health.
Yeah, I see it. Oh.
That's okay, we'll try that again.
Yeah, we definitely need to make sure that everyone is alive.
Well, you can get away
Yeah,
with a couple
fine.
of people being dead.
Yeah, but...
Well, it depends on who it is.
Yeah.
Like, Alvin can definitely beat it at the end, and it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, okay. He is pretty much pointless.
But the game kind of prioritizes people by life bottles, or to get life bottles based on their slot in the party. And Alvin gets higher priority over Elise because of that. That's when the AI is using them. Obviously, you can use them on whoever you want.
Yeah, sure. It was actually interesting seeing Elise being used as a support character, because I don't remember this being as well. Which definitely makes sense, because she is healing and giving TP back.
Yeah.
And using Soaring Vortex is a lot of TP usage.
Okay, he's dead. Second try. Unfortunately, we died really late in the first try, but that second try actually went pretty well.
Well, you're not much better.
Yeah, so far it's actually looking awesome, dude. Man.
So everyone got the experience. Not that it matters on Alvin, like I said. And Elise can honestly get away with not getting it as well. But you really want it on Jude and Milla, particularly Milla. Milla is probably the most important one to keep the experience from Zhao. Although, normally if you win then you'll have at least Jude alive. So he'll probably get it as well. But yeah, I don't really care about my life bottle count either, like all 5 of those life bottles were usable on Zhao if need be. There is a chance that I have to burn a couple on the next couple of fights, but I will buy more eventually as well. Okay, so now we're almost at the point where we'll be starting with the main battle strategy in Tales of Xillia speedruns. It's kind of boring, to some degree, because the most overpowered character is not one that you actually do real combos with.
Wow,
But at the
what a
same time,
huge city. I've never
you gotta
been
battle
anywhere
what's
like
actually the
this
most powerful in the
before.
speedrun.
Hey, there's Milla, are you nervous about something?
And
one's ever asked
there
me
are
what
at least
the future's
variations
for.
on it from what was used
Seems
over
I'm
the
a
last
bit
couple of
excited.
years to make certain fights go by quicker.
Yeah, if Jude wouldn't have been a martial artist, I would probably had picked up Rowan as my main character for usage. But I'm so into martial arts, I couldn't avoid using Jude all the time.
Yeah, this game also didn't quite get onto the point where every character is useful for both, for melee even if they're a spellcaster. Like, I mean, Rowan's melee is okay, but that's about all you can say about it. It's okay.
I truly
Like, it's
admire
not
the
quite as
dedication of
underwhelming as
these
some
sentries to their
spellcasters have
mission,
been in the
but if they
past,
stand
but
in my way,
it's still
I will
pretty
have
bad.
no choice but to cut them down.
So I'm just going through the motions of a few more cutscenes. And then Rowan will finally join after this cutscene. So he'll be taking the role as the main character For now, Alvin will be the one leaving us. Jude will eventually leave us once we get the last character that it hasn't been introduced yet, but for now Alvin is the most useless character.
Yeah, because guard breaking is all nice and dandy, but there's one thing that magic can do, and that is breaking guard.
Yep, okay, so...
Magic breaks instantly guards in most cases, unless it's like an there are two type of guards basically. One guard is the normal guard, and another guard is kind of like an invincible guard, where you just cannot do anything about it. And magic breaks the first one super easily, which can cause sometimes problems, because I think in Xillia 1 it is as well as it is in Xillia 2. If a character breaks guards on an enemy, they aggro the character instantly. That's kind of like a different aggro system. In 2 I think it's in 1 as well. So you have to pay attention to it. A little bit, it depends.
And that's at least as one use as melee for the game. We spam Power Hammer
You get along so well.
to keep the enemies under wraps while while Rowan and Milla cast spells. And now we head back to Aladi Sea Haven just briefly, because this is the last chain on that side quest. I did the first two chains first in the second Sea Haven and then briefly in Charlton after the first cutscene there, and now we can finish it, because this is just an opportune time to quick jump and do it. And then what we can do is jump back straight away, because we were just at the entrance of that particular route, the Kulmar Trail. So we basically lost no progress by doing the quick jump there, which is why it's the ideal time to do it. We make our way through this place. There is one enemy that can come charging out at you, depending on its initial positioning. If it happens to be a wolf around this last corner, then it can come charging out at you. But it wasn't a wolf, so it doesn't matter. It was one of those burrowing things. Okay, so this is Burmia Gorge. This is the most evil dungeon to get an encounter in the whole game. I mean, we're just using capture card, like an HD capture card. I've got an Ava Media, other people use Elgato. In general, for speedruns, you want to avoid using the inbuilt streaming on PS4 or other consoles if you can help it. Okay. So this dungeon is going to feature a lot of baiting, because I need to do a lot of climbing and occasionally falling down as well. And I need to make sure that enemies aren't anywhere near me when I try and climb, because of the thing we mentioned earlier where I have to mash the button to start the climb instead of being able to hold it. And also there are some really big enemies like those turtles, although they move extremely slowly. The moths are the most annoying enemy. We're seeing one here. If I get caught by one of these, then it's really bad, because they can art seal my characters, skill seal, and do all kinds of nasty stuff. And they also move in kind of annoying patterns in the actual overworld.
Yeah, weird hitboxes on small flying enemies and big enemies are actually, it's a weird thing. I don't know what it is with Telltale's games and hitboxes, but they got a knack for that.
Alright, it looks like I got a good spawn up the top, although it is still somewhat dodgy, so I'm going to take the slightly safer route. This is an easier drop down to get to than the one on the right side. You can take either, but it does take one more drop to reach the bottom. So it's slightly slower if you can reach the right side safely. But generally the left side is more safe. Alright, another moth that I have to try and aggro, bait away from the chest because I need that chest, and then try and get around him again on the way back round. Okay, it should be good. Cool. And then one more iFreeze treasure. It's not the last iFreeze treasure in the run, but I think it's the second to last for Milla's story. This one has 2 elixirs. Luckily, we can hold on to them for now because we didn't get skill sealed by a random encounter. Otherwise, that's the only way I really have to cure that skill seal. So I would have to use them immediately. They are kind of useful later on. Jude's side actually sells them.
Oh, really?
Well, sells at least one of them. I think the Fnatic sells both, but I think you can get away with only selling one. So I heal Milla and Rowan's TP specifically, because they're the only ones that are actually going to be attacking on the next battle. Then I can use Elisa's remaining TP to heal my party for free, because again, like I said, she's not going to attack. And then if I was art sealed, then I would have to cure it with the elixir. And what I do is I spam my fireballs, and I also deliberately link with Jude to keep him out of the way. And one thing about Rowan's fireball spamming is that, yeah, you want to get out 4 fireballs and then cancel, but what you actually do is you cancel slightly after you see the 3rd fireball come out, because the 4th one will still come out. Now, I cancelled just slightly too early that time, so I only got 3, but the point still stands. And what you want to do is cancel obviously as early as possible without getting the 4th fireball. But also, battles in this game lag a little bit, depending on the battle. So you need to be careful of how much the game is lagging before you use a certain timing to cancel the fireball, to guard cancel the fireball and cast another one. And Jude and Elise will just spam orange gels and me and Milla. Although we might be out at this point, which will be really bad. Okay, it looks like we are out. So I'll have to use this manually. So I had to use one of those elixirs anyway. Please stay still. I know that asking for that is probably asking for too much, but whatever. I was slightly lower on orange gels than I'm used to being.
I don't believe it evolved naturally. Then that would mean...
So that was a bit off script, but using one of the elixirs there is fine. I want to try and keep one for later. Just for a particular fight where it can be sort of useful. Anyway, another regular chest which is actually somewhat useful. And now the game is railroading me back to the specific entrance of Sheralton so I can see more cutscenes, so let's do that.
Cutscene skipping in this game is actually pretty good. Unlike Xillia 2 and Xillia 2, they actually added additional menus for it. I like the skipping in Xillia 1 actually, to be honest.
Yeah, the problem in Xillia 2 is that cutscene skip defaults to no, otherwise it's almost exactly the same inputs. But you have to press up one extra time, so it gets annoying. So here we're just talking to Cheryl not once but twice. One time to set us up to rest, and one time to send Rowan on the spy mission to Fort Gandala. So match through that. And then we head to the town square where we'll get a scripted battle where you can't end the battle. No, they can do damage to you, but you can't do damage to them. And the only way to end the fight is for it to run out of time. So I quickly swap to Milla, link with Elise, because my link time with specific characters determines which order I get them to spawn in the final boss, and Elise is one of the ones I want to get earlier. And so then I just use this time to grind up that time a bit while we wait for the countdown to trigger, which is there. Milla and Elise get ambushed, and we will eventually, after a very long wall of cutscenes, will spawn in Fort Gandala. And in Fort Gandala, thankfully there's an item shop and a food shop. Well, just a guy that does all the shops, so what we can do is... No, okay, that's the wrong guy. Wait, what? Oh, I managed to talk to the bed around the food guy somehow. That's quite impressive. Okay, so what I'll be doing is using that Echor, which is the thing I got from the side quest. I'll use all my materials in fact because I didn't get a favourable bonus. I used the Echor from the side quest, that gets me all the way to level 14 on its own. And then I buy a beef ball small. which is a food that gives 60% EXP, which is pretty broken at this point in the game. I get one
Yeah,
specific
food is free, though.
point on Milla's orb, and that allows me to then guide the game in the way I want it to go again. And I get 2 skills specifically, Assault and Level Restore, and I teach myself Rock Trine. Oh, I need to do a little more here actually. Buy 1 more beef bowl for now. And also sell all of these. Oh, I forgot to buy orange shells at Sheraton, that's what I forgot to do, that's why I ran out. Okay, that makes sense. I was meant to buy more orange shells at Sheraton so I would have enough for the anomaly, because he burns through orange shells pretty fast.
Where are you?
Okay.
What do I do
But
without
yeah,
you?
using the elixir and losing like 15 seconds isn't a big deal. Okay, now these guard fights are kind of interesting if I can pull it off correctly.
Oh yeah, there are actually 2 interesting ways of comboing with Milla. There's one combo that's slightly faster, but has more room for arrows, and there's another one that's slightly slower but more consistent. Oh yeah, you're doing the Fireball Earth Spike.
Well yeah, it's meant to be an infinite combo, but I was a little too slow on the first couple of loops. On the first few loops, I only got a 20 hit combo instead of up to a 40 hit combo.
Okay, I see.
But I'll try and get it properly on the second fight, although, yeah. The second fight will be a little faster anyway because I leveled up 3 times. I mean, not that level ups are necessarily meant to give you stats in this game, but the second fight still happens to go by a little faster for whatever reason. Like, you're meant to have to use the Xillia morgue to get any stats. Okay, I stuffed it up, but that's okay. We don't need to execute this combo correctly to carry on in the game. It's just favourable if we can. So I got about a 20 hit combo on each fight, which isn't optimal, but is good enough.
Could be worse.
Yeah, because if you don't do this straight at all, then you get like a 5 hit combo. And you get bonus experience based on the combo you get, so any combo is better than the default of about 5. So I need to be careful of where the enemies spawn as I come out of the elevator and jump into this door. And one big difference on Duke's side is that you do fight some guards, but they're counted as regular enemies because you don't have just a solo team, you actually have 3 people in your party at that point in Jude's side, and they just make you fight regular enemies that don't give way more experience, that don't give like boss tier experience. So you end up ridiculously underleveled in Jude's side speedruns compared to Milla. And then you have to deal with these next 2 amazing boss battles. So one more wall of cutscenes. There's going to be plenty more walls of cutscenes, but I think this is the last one for a wee while at least.
Yeah, Tales of Xillia as well as Xillia 2 is like cutscene heaven. If you love cutscenes, you got a movie on your hand, man.
Yeah, at least they're all skippable. If they weren't, well...
They are, that's true. If they weren't, man, that estimate.
It would kind of depend on how long, or like if you can mash through them instead. Because obviously in this game you can't really mash through cutscenes because most of them are kind of on rails. Some of them you can mash through. But yeah, it would depend on just how many of them were mashable as to how bad it would be. But that's the whole reason why Symphonia is 7 hours instead of like 3 or 4.
Yeah, true.
So in this game I can just spam Demon Fist. This fight I can just spam Demon Fist for the most part. If I use 4 full combos of Demon Fist with all 4 of my AC, then one more basic combo should end it. I saw that
Oh
I
yeah, we
did
actually
quite a
didn't
little
touch
amount of
on
damage.
that. We actually didn't touch on that. On the lower half of the screen, you see this. Yeah, basically it's a sword with a number on it. That is basically your actions you can do in a row.
Thank you.
And if
I
it hits
appreciate
0,
it.
you need to wait until it refreshes. You can increase this number later on due to the Lilium board. But this is basically your limit.
carry me on
You
your
can change
back
it with
like
other
this.
characters.
I can't help but remember
So that
flying with
while
Phil.
you are refreshing your actions, that another character is still attacking. It's a little bit of a stretch to do it manually, but it's possible. And that kind of like limits your actions you can do in a row. That counts as your combo.
Alright, I'm going to use my auto... Hold on, where is it, this one? Yeah. Going to use auto orb for the first time. And that's just because we're starting to get so many skills that it's not worth selecting good ones manually. Okay, now the first 1v1 is against Ivor. So...
How dare you allow this to happen?
I messed up the timing very slightly on that backstep. The whole modus operandi on this fight is to abuse backsteps to get behind him and then spam Sporing Vortex, basically, because he's weak to it, just like...
And make sure you focus.
Ivor's. Just like Zhao was, he's also weak to it. Okay, I stuffed that up, I'm probably... Yeah, I'm probably dead now because I got skill sealed. Oh, I only got skill sealed and not art sealed, so I might still win. Yeah, I still won because it was only skill sealed. If I get art sealed there, then I probably die. But because I only got skill sealed, I do less damage, but I can still pull off my usual combo.
Nice. Yeah, as much as Ivor is kind of like coming along as a notoriously dumb and weird guy, if it comes to fighting, that guy can do damage and combos.
Yeah, it's another fight where, like I said about Hammersam, how he can one-shot you with a good combo. If you're on Jude's side and you stuff up Ivor, then he can one-shot you with a good combo.
I hope I made the right
Whereas
choice
in this
with my
game, you
Lily
saw that
board.
he only did about half of my health with a pretty much full combo when I screwed up. Although, yeah, like I said, I got lucky that it was only skill seal and not art seal. Whether he lands the particular status effects is random. So we'll be recruiting Leia fairly shortly. Leia's a pretty decent character for melee, without being like a standout, and also a okay spellcaster without being amazing. She's only got healing and support skills, but
I
with...
found Homer more of an offensive supporter actually than a caster.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like she doesn't have any offensive magic anyway, so...
Yeah.
She only has that sharpness and such.
Sharpness is like really good. That's probably the biggest reason why you have her in a party.
Yeah, I mean sharpness gives you more extra damage than any of the melee options you have does, so obviously she is useful. At least from the context of a speedrun, but she is perhaps the most expendable member of your party, and much later on in the game you actually stop using her Lilium Orb because it stops mattering.
True.
And to be fair, you probably only really Lilium Orb her, A, for some of her skills, but B, just to make her more tanky. Like, she's not really attacking at all, other than on this segment, where she will be a melee attacker because we don't have any other options. Although even then, she's still only going to be melee attacking for one of the two fights, other than being part of Link Arts. Alright, so now the button mashing part, the best part in the whole game.
Oh yes! Let's go mining, boys and girls.
So you basically need to get 5 total shines in order to break the wall, but you can get like 2.5, 2.5. You don't actually have to reach the 3rd shine at all to be able to break the wall in 2 sets of mining. You basically just need to hit it a certain amount of times total, and that amount is roughly 5 total times, if that makes any sense. Okay, but I'm going to do a menu first, because it's more important to do a menu. To refresh it, it's still live on my side. I mean, if I open mix.
Yeah, we
Glitch at
probably
this
have to
point.
bridge, yeah.
I've
Alright, hold
always
on.
had a problem with Mixer. Anytime. Or like Frockathon or something. Yeah, it's Mixer has not been happy.
Yeah.
Garrus, there is
Oh, audio.
no audio.
Oh, you need to
Yeah,
unmute.
I have Twitch.
What's
Yeah, I have Twitch
causing
muted by
these
on
earthquakes?
purpose.
Alright.
Yeah, you had it muted because it was in Neptunia. Yeah, fair enough. Alright, so...
Well, I also had muted because I did record your last mute, and my last mute was muting shit
Oh, yeah.
stream.
Alright, so...
click
Hammer's M1, I need to just use link art mainly.
Jeez, why is this thing so darn big?
And not get staggered.
Source of energy. I can't think of any other explanation.
Let's just focus on beating it.
Okay, I got a bad start. That's okay.
That's one.
Yeah, the Amazon fight is...
Not good.
it's rarely that he actually behaves. If he jumps around, that's actually worse, because it's losing time already.
Yeah.
But he can also dish out quite the amount of damage. The best pattern you want to have is that he's like giving you rocks, because you can dodge them very easily. And you hope that he's not really guarding, so you can constantly combo
Yeah,
him a
or
little.
unlink to reduce the damage, although Leia still
Yeah,
gets hit a lot.
That as well. You don't want to be late when he is like hitting characters.
Okay, he's dead. I don't know if that was a really slow first phase, but I mean, yeah, we got kind of thrown off by the downtime, so that's okay.
It was still actually a good first phase, but the second one is actually the really annoying one where it gets really sauce really fast.
Alright, so this is a variant on what they used to do. We'll actually be using Milla as a link partner rather than Leia on the second phase. And what should we be doing is mainly... she'll be mainly, hopefully, activating her hold skill. I forget what it's exactly called, but...
Oh,
have
don't
Mirage
ask me,
Assault.
please. Oh boy.
Okay, and I need a couple more ones
I know
on
which one you
Jude.
mean, but...
Bind, it's called Bind. Okay.
Okay, it's oh, that's easy.
Alright, so Leia's gonna spam Sharpness. I'm going to try and Soaring Vortex him whenever he comes out of the earth. But he's buried 3 times in a row instantly so far, so great start.
Wow.
4 times in a row.
Wow.
Okay, we finally started getting him.
What an opening. Yeah, there's basically nothing you can do about this. This is completely RNG. You have to pray.
Damn it, I messed it up. Okay, hold on. Alright, so when I get a link art, I switch to Leia to use it. Wow, that actually killed me. Hello? Leia? Oh, she'll probably stunned, right? She actually did get a bind on him, so that'll help.
The resurrection coming in, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bind, awesome.
And I got killed out of that link art.
Wow.
Alright, Leia, you actually need to heal me now.
Yeah, link arts make you not invincible. You still can get hit by area effects. It's normally fairly rare that it happens, but it can happen.
Okay, I didn't quite use the right master cards, but that's okay. That should be it. Yeah, okay, he's down. Okay, apart from the 4 burrows at the start, it didn't end up that bad. Although I used the wrong list of the card sequence, so I didn't get quite as much damage as I could have.
Mm.
So I got the desirable outcome, which is end Hammerzam with having just used an overlimit and having maybe like 1 bar.
Awesome.
So again, grab some gold and then leave. Now, of course, 4,000 gold at this point isn't quite as important as the 5,000 gold was back after Nameless Anomaly, but it's still pretty useful. And it'll let us buy more food very shortly.
Yeah, buff food in this game is is really good. Especially if you have something like later on in the game a chain battles where you have multiple fights in a row. As long as you have not gotten into a result screen, a winning screen, you use one usage of that buff food for all fights together.
Yeah. Although, the one specific you're talking about with only one result screen for multiple fights is not in this particular run.
It's not?
Well, you don't fight 4 phases of Maxwell, you only fight 1. Oh, I guess you're
Oh,
talking
no,
about
I don't
the
mean
wave
Maxwell.
fight.
I don't mean
Yeah, the wave
Maxwell.
fight that applies, for sure, and that is the most important part, or the most important usage of that concept.
Yep.
So now we're just making a bit of use of quick jump to skip some walking. It's only barely faster than doing the walking, but faster is faster after all. But yeah, you can use that. You can use one set of food for that whole wave fight and get a ton of experience out of it. And that's where we go from being under-leveled to being slightly over-leveled, really. Alright, so now I'm going to use that money that I just picked up after Hammerzam and buy both beef rolls this time. We're actually going to get a beef roll medium. And then we'll head on to the shipboarding area. And from now on we'll have all 6 party members, and times when we don't have all 6 party members will be more of the exception than the rule. There's still going to be plenty of times when party members are going to leave, but for the most part the game from Chapter 2 onwards is based around having the full party. And yeah, this is Chapter 2 after beating Hammerzam. Hammerzam serves as the final boss of Chapter 1. He was trolly, but not like ridiculously so. It can definitely go even worse than that. And now you'll notice that my characters start talking in the bottom left corner. This is actually because they got their first set of free gear.
That sounds so romantic.
Also, I'm going slightly the wrong way. I need to adjust my line a little bit. Yeah, later we'll talk about another war scaled, which is only intense for gear, by the way. Or it might be her Lillian War. Either way, some of them definitely do talk about their gear, like I think Rowan in particular does.
Yeah, as mentioned before, if characters leave and rejoin at a later part in the story, they get a G upgrade for free. Which is a big difference between Jude's and Milla's story, because Jude's story has no huge breaks later on, as Milla has. Milla has a very huge break, where she is basically alone and all other characters are left. and they get all for free. Like I think it's 2 or 3 tiers higher of equipment.
Yeah, you buy a really good weapon from Milla using all the resources you have at that point in the game, and then your party comes back and their free gear is even better than that.
I can't help but
I mean,
Yeah.
granted, you don't have too many resources because you're doing a speedrun and you're not picking up as many as a casual player would, but you still have a lot. Okay, so now I gotta do a specific menu here. I'm actually going to not do completely auto on Rowan this time. Well, I don't think I've Lillianed with him at all yet, but I'm not gonna
boy,
do
this
completely auto.
was- Oh yeah, I remember him. He was giving me a hard time first time I played this game.
I'm going to, like I did with Milla earlier, I'm going to select specific orbs that give me more intelligence. And this is also, well, we did an orb on Elise very early on in the game when she was level 6, but we're going to do one more on her as well. And we're also going to orb Jude for the final time for a little bit, because he's going to have to be used one more time. Spirit level restore. So, Assault +2, Spirit level restore, and Wizard. And then Rowan's Arts, I replaced Rock Shrine with Windlance and set up some shortcuts. Now Elise has an actual good attacking spell. Layer Sharpness, and Jude Swallow Dance. Oh, it's right down the bottom, okay. And now we fight the Brutal after I pick up just a few materials. It's only really... We're getting close to the point in the game where I want to start picking up materials again, but at this point it's only really worth picking up ones that are not very far out of the way.
You have got to be kidding me. I'm really pissed off.
Hold on, who am I meant to link layer? Okay. I accidentally cast Flash once. That's a bit of a waste of damage. But yeah, the Brutor is RNG based as to how much stun actually works on him and what he does in between the stuns of negative gate and such. Like, Fireball is pretty light on stun since it's only just one single impact. Like, that's the one thing it's not very good at, is keeping an enemy in place. So we have to rely on everyone else to do that.
Yeah, the
Okay,
main
he's
issue with
summoned.
Bruta is he hits like a truck.
He's summoned, which is interesting. I need to try and finish him off. Okay, now I've got to kill 2 minions. It's been a while since I've seen him summoned, but these guys die pretty
Oh.
quickly. Might use a slightly undesirable amount of orange shells though,
That was too close.
but I should still be okay.
I did not expect it to be
I bought 15 before the
So this time
guard fights. And at that point in the game, when you're using Jude or Milla controlled, you don't use too many orange shells, so we've only really started to use them again now.
It's still a good fight.
Yeah, I mean it was
Regardless
pretty
of
smooth,
the
regardless. No one
Yeah.
died. And he can definitely kill people. That Brutal.
Oh yes, he can. Oh, I felt that. I needed like, I don't know, 7 tries or so in my first playthrough to get past him.
Although in Graces, I think the boar in that game is even more notorious for being kind of...
I don't remember it right
Damaging.
now, but
Human
possibly
lives are
can be,
short.
yeah.
Well,
Those
it was,
be wise,
like,
they
only for
strive to
casual
preserve
players. I think the
themselves from
speedrun controls them pretty well, but
look at
the
those
boar in
giant
Graces that
lions.
burrows underground when he's at low health
Beautiful cloth
just
of
keeps
gold.
spamming
Oh
burrow.
yeah,
Fascinating
right.
culture.
Oh boy, yeah. That's a nightmare as well, true.
Yeah, compared to Brutal, I mean, compared to him, Brutal doesn't seem as bad. But yeah, okay, so we'll be doing Colosseum fights now, for the most part, and they are really just cleaning up a bunch of single, normal enemies.
They hopefully behave and don't run at us on...
Yeah, there are certain ones
I mean, we
which
would
we don't
prefer
want to run at
to-
us.
Yeah. They can go to someone else maybe, but we want to try to keep Rowan as alone as possible, basically.
Okay, so the first fight we're doing to do Fireball. The second fight we're also going to do Fireball, but then we'll finally use a spell other than Fireball. At least apart
A
from
place
the
where humans
splash I
locked.
used unintentionally. Because I was trying to remember who to link with. But yeah, there's you enter the Colosseum 3 times. This is the first time. There's one battle this time. And it's just a standard Fireball fight. And those guys are weak to fire, so it's really just a matter of hitting them all with one chain of fireballs. It would be better if they grouped up a bit more, and then maybe I can hit them with 3 fireballs and the last one will still connect with a different one, but them being spread out isn't a big deal. So after the first round of the Colosseum, we can get back to the Jandu entrance to save a bit of walking time.
All these statues seem to be of
Well,
great
actually quite a lot
warriors
this
from eras
time.
past.
But
So
later
when I
on
get
there are
super
some more
strong,
motional
you
quick
can come
jumps
make a
again.
statue of me too?
So we're going to head back to the Colosseum, but we can't quick jump there this time. This time quick jump is completely locked. Because we're actually missing a fairly substantial chunk of our party in this brief moment. And generally it's when the party splits that quick jump gets locked the most. So I view what the party's actually doing is splitting up to investigate certain things in the town, and Milla's side investigates the rock slide from when we entered Jandu. So after investigating that we can head to the Colosseum, but we gotta go there on foot unfortunately. Now this time there actually is a cutscene when you enter, from what I remember.
Yeah, I was wondering why you were menuing there. But sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, like, there just happens to be one time when there isn't a cutscene. And it's the first time you enter the Colosseum. I guess I should be able to remember it based off that, but obviously the memory isn't always amazing. Okay, so
Oh man.
3 fights this time, and I actually have Jude instead of Milla, just because he can do a bit of lockdown on them, and hopefully group them up a bit more. He uses the move Swallow Dance. Unfortunately he died, but it's okay, we have still, I think, plenty of life bubbles. Okay,
All in a day's
him losing the experience here doesn't really matter at all, but I would prefer them to revive him relatively early on in the next fight.
Negative Gate is also a good ability for crowd control because it has like a slide sucking ability
Yeah,
that it
oh well,
pulls
Jude died
enemies
again.
together in their effect range. It's not that massive, it takes a little bit, it takes a while until they're like really cluttered up, but it's still a good ability for crowd control. Oh yeah, and here we see Windlands, which is actually, in my opinion, the most beautiful spell from Roan. Because if you use Roan's special ability, where you can chain or use special effects on certain skills, Windlands has the effect that every target the initial Windlands hits lets one additional Windland spawn, and they charge on the targets. Which can do in a massive fight where I hit like 4 or 5 enemies at once. Cause a lot of lag, but also a tremendous amount of damage additional, because they also are all AoE in the straight line, so you can do some serious damage.
Yeah, that's pretty much the level of damage that you need to out-damage Fireball, is using Wind Lance on at least 2 or 3 targets to out-DPS Fireball. And that's the reason why it's the only other spell that we use on Rowan for the whole game.
It's come to
Even if you'd think that in theory we would be using skills like Splash when there's Fire Resist, well no. Definitely not. There is only Fireball and Wind Lance, any other spells lie. Unless you accidentally use Flash like I did that one time.
So no tidal wave? Oh, I've been
No.
duped.
I mean, I guess Rowan technically uses Tidal Wave, except not really because it skips straight to the Mystic Art animation in the final battle. But technically he would have had to use Tidal Wave to start that
Yeah,
Mystic
when you
Art.
make an entrance. True, they're using Mystic Arts.
Alright, I haven't shopped yet since my last shop, so... Well, now, this time I can actually quick jump to the Coliseum, thankfully, but... This is the reason I have 2 beef bowls instead of 1. I've used one already, now I'll use the second one. Although it's only for 1 fight, so it's really just menuing convenience and menuing speed. Like, this is ridiculously inefficient in terms of money, but you don't really need to be efficient in terms of money at this point in the game anymore. You're using a beef bowl medium which lasts for 5 fights for 1 fight. Alright, this is a kind of trolly boss battle though.
Which one was it?
Spyrex Warriors.
Oh yeah, the nasty ones.
They look quite formidable.
No matter. We will end this quickly.
But look at their
They are overall not that bad. I mean, it's 3 targets, but they have quite the amount of HP. And one of them has a flamethrower, which can cause a lot of problems actually.
Yeah. They can also use super weak healing items. I mean, they do heal some HP. Like they heal like 1000, but they're like way nerfed compared to the party's ones.
Yeah.
Alright, well that was a little slow, but only 1 death.
over.
impressive.
And it wasn't actually that slow either.
You were amazing.
It's more so that my
This is my
wave
mission.
fights ended up being slow the first 3. So yeah, that is the one fight where we'll actually be using that beef bowl. Now we'll be replacing it before we do another battle. So it's completely just for menu efficiency and not having to go to another shop. Whoops, okay.
Still a good fight.
Yeah, the Spyrex Warriors fight itself was decent enough. It was only the fights before it that was somewhat slow. Because Jude
Yeah.
died so fast in each of them. And at the start of the second one, or the start of the third one, I should have cast Wind Lance. But I cast Fireball, and so that slowed it down a bit. So the Royal Hunting Grounds.
The Royal Hunting
Oh
Grounds.
boy.
An
This
ominous
is the
name.
point in the game where we
Doesn't
honestly
care to be the
become the most
hunters.
underleveled other than the start,
Sounds good
because
to me.
we kind of run through like three full areas without doing a single battle. Whereas the game is obviously expecting you to do boss battle, well not boss battles, but lots of random battles to keep up your levels a bit. So the next boss battle ends up having quite a lot of health relative to the last few because of that. Well, it also doesn't help that the next boss battle moves around a lot and is somewhat tricky in general, but I think it's somewhat scaled towards you having actually done some grinding. So it won't be over nearly as quickly as those Spyrex Warriors were. And there's an enemy trapped in the wall, interesting.
I
Okay.
haven't seen much of deplacement of enemies, so I'm curious. Oh, that bird over there.
Yeah, that was most definitely
Oh.
stuck.
Oh, poor guy. Probably his peak is stuck.
Alright, well I can pick up these for a small amount of guaranteed materials. They're not that good, but I'm gonna have to start picking up materials in general, so it's not a big deal to pick up a chest that has materials. I'm not picking them up here, I'll be picking them up in the next area, but just picking up that fur for 1 guaranteed spawn just in case our luck in random points is absolutely atrocious. So this is Labari Hollow. Again, we'll just dodge all the enemies. They can spawn in somewhat awkward positions, and there are some rather big ones. But in general, we should still be able to just bait our way around them. And I can start picking up glowing points again here to begin my quest towards a higher level food shop. I'm done with the 60% EXP food. You might have noticed that I applied some 60% EXP food for the Sparks Warriors, but I'm just going to immediately ditch that, and my goal before the next boss fight is to have EXP food for 100% instead.
Yeah, you can override your previous buff food with a new one, that's no problem. It gives you a message that you're doing it, but it's fine. I mean, we're using a better one.
Yeah, I need to pick up enough materials so I can get my food shop to at least level 24. Preferably level 28 so that I can be completely done with it for the whole game. Because 28 unlocks the 100% EXP food in the medium size, which is the best type of food I need. Or the highest type of food I need for the whole game. Right now I only need the small size though, so level 24 is enough for that. In general, you unlock a food and then four levels later you unlock its medium version, and another 4 later you unlock large. And that's how all the foods work. Apart from maybe like some of the really, really good late game stat food, but I think for the most part they're all 4 levels apart. Okay, so I've rescued Alvin and Elise. Now I need to get out of here because my quick jump's disabled. Slightly bait that guy out of the way. I gotta bait this guy as well, because he was kind of on an awkward angle. So yeah, it doesn't take too much to get the food shop to level 24 or 28. Generally I always get it to 28, but it does, there is still an RNG component to it. Also I need to be careful of that bush to the left, you can't walk through it, and so it can kind of bait you into getting trapped against the enemy if you're not careful. And like, you've seen me pick up a lot of shining points. The bags are slightly more questionable because they A, have a higher odds of having something that you don't want, and B, take longer to pick up. But in general, for marathon safety, as in making sure that I do get enough materials in the end, I am going to pick up bags for the most part.
What? Be careful.
In most
This place
cases
is
they're
crumbling down all
conveniently
around us.
placed,
As if
so
no human has set foot in
you
here
can
for
just pick them
years.
up.
Yeah, but when you
And
pick
if
up
you
a
are
bag,
lucky,
you
you
have
are
to
getting
listen
good
to the
stuff.
sound.
Mm.
And I can snipe that last glowing point on the bridge just before the cutscene from the left. Okay, so again I can only quick jump to one place, but it's actually the best place I could quick jump to regardless. Or at least fairly equal with where I would want to go if I had a choice. Because now I'm back in Jiandu and I want to exit through the kind of exit on the middle left. And so I can either spawn on the top right or the bottom left, and they're both roughly the same distance away. This might be slightly further away than the bottom left would be, but we have to see a cutscene as we enter the top right, so we can't jump to the bottom left. And I also skip any kind of glowing point or bag that, well, I don't think you see bags in cities, but you skip any kind of glowing point that you see in cities because they have a ridiculously high chance to be trash. And where we are right now counts as part of Jiandu still. So I skip these glowing points. They do have a small chance of being useful, but a lot of the time they're just something like 1 gold. And even if they are something useful, they'll generally only have a quantity of 1. Now it can be a bit annoying to see the glowing points in this dungeon. This, like, route between the cities anyway. Because they're white on white, but they do sort of, like, they do glow enough for the most part to spot them, except when the surface is really, really bright to begin with. And a little extra gold will help. You don't need any gold out of the bags that you pick up. The money route is entirely routed around just the money you get from chests and boss battles, but if you get a little extra from bags, you have a little more safety. And at this point, the base pickup, like we said earlier, the base for gold earlier in the game was 200, and now I think it's all the way up at 1800. Since obviously the price of what is considered a good item has changed quite a lot.
Oh, sure is cold. Holy. You never call me Ellie anymore.
So at this point I'm reasonably confident that I've got enough materials, but I'm just going to pick up the few more that are kind of on my direct path or are close to it. I get the heart herb, which is actually something you can use for a side quest, but I'm not going to do that side quest, what a surprise.
Not doing side quests in an RPG, wow!
If anything, this game is odd in that you actually do one to get that material. At least in terms of tails.
Mm.
Well, I think it varies whether the runs do any side quests or not, but...
Yeah, it depends on the reward, obviously,
Yeah.
sure.
Alright, so... This is a food vendor, conveniently enough he's somewhat near the way, so now what we need to do is get him to preferably level 28, but at least level 24. Looks like I won't actually... Okay, I just barely got level 28. So, buy a spicy chicken roll small, use it immediately. And then buy another one for later. And then I just need 300 gold to take this in to progress the story. Which is fairly free. Now, I'm actually going to go and activate a quick jump point for later next, but whether I do it by quick jumping to begin with or just by walking is pretty much even, so I'm going to quick jump.
Tenacious creatures. They can take root and establish civilization in even the harshest of lands.
So we quickly dive into the temple, Kamvala Temple, or the Giant Woods Temple it's called rather, to activate a quick jump point for there for about an hour or so later in the run, and then progress the story some more. At this point we're going to meet the king of the nation that
Considering the size of his country,
Jude isn't from.
God,
The one that's going to be at war with Jude's nation.
I think
Not that
that's
Jude really
admirable.
has too many ties to his own nation at this point in the game. But we're still going to be seen by as an enemy by these guys as well, so... We'll get into the lead into the next boss battle fairly shortly. Now these guards that were just NPCs earlier are actually enemies that you can run into. Obviously we don't want to run into them, but they're not particularly difficult to dodge, since this is a really wide open space. Alright, so now it's time for that hard boss battle that I was talking about because of the game assuming you're higher level than we actually are. But first, a fairly decent sized menu. I'm going to set Rowan up with some wind resistance, which will prove handy later. And give Milla his old armor, since she didn't get an armor upgrade. We're gonna orb everyone but Jude. Jude doesn't get any orb for a long time in the game now. And then we'll set up a few more skills, which are sort of useful. Alright, so yep. Huge spell casting, absolute reduction, bottle efficiency, TP gain, and morale support. Okay, so now the battle against Wingle and Presser. This battle is actually somewhat harder than the one where you battle 3 of them later, just because they have so much more durability here. Not to say that that other battle can't troll you, but this one is more likely to do so.
I warn you, he's quite strong like this. Can't understand a word he's saying, though. No matter, you'll understand soon enough. Once we're all finished with you.
And I got immediately loose speared by... Got immediately blue speared by Presser, but I managed to magic guard it myself, so only Leia died. Now I guess you want them to link, yeah, on this battle. It makes the battle less trolly. Because they move around slightly less. I got splashed by Presser. And again, lovely. Now, I can actually absorb his wind attacks at least. They ain't overlimit, but they don't have Mystic Arts here. The introduction to Mystic Arts is like the very next bit. Ah, that's a wind spell. How did that kill me? What? Oh, it's because I lost my link to Leia and so I lost my wind resistance. Clever. I stopped absorbing wind and instead started taking a little bit of damage from it. Alright, well they linked again, which is actually a good, like I said, them linking is a good thing. It can be a bad thing on other fights, but it's a good thing on this fight. And now that Wingle is finally dead, that could have been a little faster, but Presser was pulling out a lot of crap with Blue Sphere and Splash. Like, Wingle's an obvious threat because he's got... How's that missing? Come on. Wingle's an obvious threat because he's a very fast melee attacker, but Presser is actually really annoying on this particular battle.
His hair completely changed.
So yeah, it was a bit slow. It definitely could have been faster considering that they linked up so much, and they take more damage when they link. But Presser was being very good at controlling the space with her Blue Sphere and her Splash. But it's free to fight anyway. I think I'm out of orange gels, but I don't need any for a little while longer. So unfortunately, again, my quick jump options are very limited. And I have to walk through this passage again when it would be ideal if I could just jump back to, say, the other entrance of Jandu, the one closest to the top right corner. Yeah, okay, small menu again. Rowan gets an accessory. And also some Lilium Orb again. Again, I'm going to specifically select some int boosting tiles before I do auto. And then do some stat boosting skills. The good thing about the stat boosting skills in Xillia 1 is that every single stat boosting skill copies itself over link to your partner. And so when you're linked, you gain a lot more stats, because not only do you have your own strength and vitality skills, you have your link partner's ones as well. So it's even worth it to set stuff like intelligence on Leia, even when Leia doesn't have any offensive magic. Because when I link with Leia with Rowan, that intelligence gets used by Rowan as well. And so you can get a pretty big multiplier on your stats that way. In Xillia 2, they realized how OP this was, and they nerfed it so that only the final version of each of the linking stat of the stat skills copies over link. So you actually have to earn that OPness.
You'll pay for what you did. This is our home turf. We can't lose. Stay on guard. We're fending against the ruler of the sky.
Okay, so now we have a rather odd boss battle where what we're actually trying to do is face tank with Rowan. Now, the reason we do this is because all but one of this guy's attacks are wind element, and right now Rowan is set up to absorb wind element damage, which not only means that it doesn't stagger me at all, it actually heals me. Now that dive bomb that he just uses, the one that isn't wind element, it's, well, it might be fire element, I don't really know, but it certainly isn't wind. But yeah, you just want him to move as little as possible. You want him to keep spamming his wind element attacks. And there we go. That was a pretty favourable fight because he never hit anyone with the dive bomb.
That makes me the new ruler. Should we call you queen? On second thought, forget it.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, this fight can be a little bit. I mean, I have Sienna Bronx PTSD basically, so wyvern type enemies are always my nightmare.
Yeah, this guy has no Sienna Bronc by any means.
Yeah.
And now we'll head on to the first boss that actually has a Mystic Art, but before that we have to talk to all the party members individually with Milla. You're doing a bit of a reflection over what comes next. Because right now in the story, the thing that they're about to do is pretty much the last thing that they have planned. They're going to go and confront the king of Jude's home nation, in Fenmont. And they don't really know what happens after that, so they're thinking this might be their last adventure or whatever. And they also have the threat of war hanging over as well. So before we actually go and confront Noctgal, we have to deal with what the party has to say. And Alvin, being Alvin, has to be all the way over on the other side of the city. So we have to go chase him up and then come back to get to talk to the last party member, Jude. And provided that you talk to all 4 party members other than Jude, Jude will appear at the gate. And now that the party reflection is finally done, we can find our back door into Fenmont, which happens to be using those wyverns again. The one that actually got us to Charlton in the first place. And technically we've actually already entered Fenmont, so once I reach the final screen of this route, I can actually quick jump back to Fenmont once the game registers that this route is actually connected to Fenmont by entering the final screen, you can jump to the other side of the final screen because you have Fenmont as a discovered location. So the game just assumes that you must have already crossed that divide, when of course you haven't, but who really cares? There, you can't jump into Fenmont itself for a very long time, but you can jump to the Fenmont side of that route. So just a little abuse of quick jump to save a handful of seconds. And now it's off to the research lab.
Fenmont.
And now I'm going to use quick jump to skip about 5 seconds of walking, just because the place that I'm going into is of course the Fort Research Center, which is right in front of me, but it's also the first dungeon option on the quick jump menu. So it's fast enough for me to just quick jump into it and for that to actually be very slightly faster than walking in there.
Oh yeah, this is pretty soon coming up to that solo part of Milla. Or is it?
No, it's not that close.
No,
soon.
no, we
It's
got
about
one
another hour
thing,
away.
yeah.
Well, not quite an
Yeah,
hour,
right,
but
right.
like...
There was one thing more coming up, true.
Yeah, we have to deal with chapter 2 first. Alright, so
Yeah.
now I'm gonna go to Xillia Trail just because it's the most convenient shopping point. Yeah, so hold on, I need to do something else first. Use the spicy chicken roll that I bought earlier. Swatch Jude out for Milla because the party's changed. Max out orange shells, maybe buy some life bottles as well. And then go to food vendor, sell accessories until I have 4,000 gold. That's enough, and buy a spicy chicken roll. Now back to Fenmont. So now, after that brief intermission of menuing, I can fight Agria. And Agria is fire resistant, but we still use Firewall on her.
Yeah, because it's actually that broken. Oh, the base values on some spells or skills is just that high. That
Yeah.
even on resistances, you just don't care.
I'm gonna try and use Wind Lance immediately, but it didn't really work out because the guards didn't move forward quickly enough. So we can just go with Fireball from now on. Now, the guards are actually weak to fire, but we're aiming for Agria, so we kind of just have to hit them randomly or hope they get caught up in the area of effective negative gate. That's it, they are dead now. And here's... This is the first time an enemy can overlimit other than through using a link dart, because when enemies use link dart they turn into overlimit for whatever reason. But this is also the first time an enemy has a Mystic Art.
Oh yeah, she is the first one that has one. And they do actually considerable damage, but for the most part they don't kill you instantly, you are leaving with like 1 HP. But if you
Yeah, it
have
depends on the
antidotes
specific
you,
one.
You are directly dead.
That time, Agria was out of overlimit before she finished her arcane art, so it didn't hit me. I mean, she didn't trigger it.
Awesome.
What's
Nice.
wrong?
Fairly decent Agria fight, could be better, could be worse.
No, you're totally fine.
It can go faster than that, but it can also go a lot slower if she...
That would
The one combo you don't want her to do is if she's an overlimit using an item then, because she used like items 3 times. The first time was immediately at the start of the fight, so it didn't do anything.
Oh, great.
The other 2 times I staggered her out of it, but obviously if she's an overload then you can't stagger her. So she'll get off her lemon gel. And her lemon gel actually heals a decent amount of health. It heals 6,000 out of 30,000. So 20%, and she's a fairly slow boss to kill in general, considering her fire resistance, so... yeah. It's not something you want to happen.
Oh, this next area is actually really beautiful.
Yeah, the palace.
Yeah. That one's actually pretty beautiful. The
Okay.
enemies are a little bit annoying, especially the horses. But overall, it's a really beautiful area.
So this time the enemy spellcaster actually cast a negative gate on me. Interestingly enough.
Use more arts like you.
You
Oh,
just
really?
need to practice a little.
A little.
Yes, only 20, 30 years or so. I won't let...
Also, yeah, just like in quite a few other Tales games, the first time you get a certain out of or end of battle, like chat, you can't skip it. And there are certain
Yep.
battles that will always give the same one. In fact, there are quite a decent amount of battles, boss battles that will, but the rest of the time, when you're fighting the kind of common enemies, you just want to get ones that you've already had. Although that can be somewhat difficult, and it is just completely RNG based for the most part. Right, well the bugs are like the warm up to the dinosaurs, they're not anywhere near as bad though. They mostly just get trapped in your lock of Fireball and Negative Gate and Splash.
An obvious
They are somewhat durable, so that's about all you can really say about them.
Oh yeah, these guys. Yeah, true.
Okay, and then we're coming up on those dinosaurs that you love to hate.
Oh,
They are really fast, so even though they still get locked down by Fireball and Negative Gate decently well, whenever they are out of your lock, they can do something pretty dangerous and pretty quickly. Like there, I got charged down pretty much immediately. And he can... yeah, he killed me straight up. He's...
Yeah, these guys are the worst.
it's really just kill one of them as soon as possible. Okay, I got one. That's fine. Dying to them is pretty odd, but not completely unexpected with how random they are.
How's that for an old man?
I'm not quite going to get level 32 before Noctigal, that's actually kind of weird. But it's not a huge concern, just... I just got slightly lower combos than usual on the last few fights. And Rowan I'm going to have to heal with items, I suppose.
I can't believe.
I can still get the level 32 Leonard and everyone else.
I will take care of it.
So these butterflies are actually one of the more notorious ones for new runners, and in general they can be a bit annoying because they try to cast Negative Gate, and of course there are 3 of them that can all cast Negative Gate.
Yep.
An obvious...
Oh, Rowan actually did level up because the butterflies give slightly more experience. Okay, so I got the level up I wanted, and I'm just going to again select some ints manually, which are over here. And auto everyone else. And then set some more stat skills. Like it's worth setting strength on things like strength on Rowan and agility on Elise, even though she's like the most static character in the whole game. Just because of the link potential.
If you wish to fall
Okay, I got an immediate overlimit out of Nutskill, but he is casting his spell. Now there's something really weird mechanic going on with Nutskill and his spells while he's an overlimit. You can like delay their cast so much if you use your own spells on him that the whole overlimit will go through and he still won't have casted that one spell, and you can then just stagger him out of it. I'm not sure exactly what the underlying mechanic is, but it's just a thing. So that way, because he started his overlimit by casting a spell, the overlimit got 100% wasted. And I also burned him fairly early on.
Yeah, burn is like... I mean, status effects overall in Xillia are not often that easy to apply. But if you apply them, especially something like burn, they
Oh,
tick
damn it.
really fast and do a lot of damage.
Revive me. Okay, I got killed, and that normally has a bit of a... flow-on effect and other people get killed, but he's dead.
Nice.
It was pretty average Noctigal, somewhat
Like-
trolly, but
Yeah,
bad.
looked like a decent fight. Went a little bit sauce, but not in the worst part possible.
okay, so I'm gonna grab the third and final eye for each treasure coming up. Well, the third and final one that I grab, obviously, there's like 50 of them in the whole game, or maybe a few more than that. I think you have to get 50 to get a trophy anyway. But this is the third and final one, which is actually useful for the speedrun. And it is a somewhat new pickup as well. It's the skill called
Oh, really?
Impenetrable Guard. And it's a skill tome that everyone can use as soon as you pick it up. And what it does is, when you guard, you can't be guard broken. Period. And enemy Vista cards can't trigger if you're guarding. Guess how that's useful?
Oh yeah. Instantly agree on that.
And this is a strat that Jep came up with himself, I think. So,
Oh, really?
props to him for that.
Awesome. It's
Like-
been impressive that also in Zestiria and Berseria, like, the games have been routed for years. And especially something like Xillia, and still new stuff has been found to make use of and implement. I'll love to see that.
Yep. But yeah, getting that treasure is also important because you eventually get locked out of the castle. Well, not to mention the time that it would take to backtrack through it, but you get locked out of even entering that part of the castle as far as I remember. So you obviously have to pick it up then and there. Then just hope that these guys don't block the way too much. These little enemies.
Looks like ominous clouds are gathering up.
And my old bones tell me it will be a heavy rain indeed.
And the gimmick of this area is that there are massive lakes, and some of them you can walk over and some of them you can't. Like, well, puddles versus lakes, I suppose. Or even just puddles versus deeper puddles, but there are big ones that you can't actually walk on in the middle of
Oh
each
yeah, right.
area.
I'm all
True.
puffy and wet.
So that means you can't really take the straight line past if you'd like.
T-Bow's swelling
Right.
from all the moisture.
We're passing by a shop guy who does all 5 shops
We're at
at the
war?
end of this area, so
And with
make
tens
use
of
of him.
thousands of soldiers on either side,
And
it
also
needs
do a
to be
menu.
massive one.
This time it'll be shop before menu though. So I already have level 5 items as far as I remember because I could see holy bottles getting added when I bought my life bottles earlier. So what I'm going to do is max these out, buy these, and I need 4 holy bottles exactly. And then sell every
Holy
accessory.
bottles.
Yeah, it's
Holy
the first
bottles
use I have
work.
for holy bottles. And then buy
Is
a
there a specific? Okay.
takoyaki ramen medium. Because there are finally some areas that get so cramped that you want to use holy bottles in them.
Mm.
I mean, sometimes they also work against you because they can
Yes.
make the enemies move so erratically that you accidentally run into them anyway, but
Yeah, I was about to mention that because holy bottles in this game work differently from other games or other Tales games. You basically are not immune from encounters, but the problem that occurs is enemies are not disappearing, they are running away from you, which is in open areas absolutely fine, no problem, but in cramped up narrow areas like the mountain later on or so, they can actually block entrances as well, so this can be a problem or can cause some trouble.
Tipo, I know
yeah,
you're
they definitely
concerned.
move very erratically. You
Yeah.
can normally play around it, and the areas are so... Some of the areas coming up are so cramped that you kind of have to just deal with this. Like, it is way better to be holy bottled than not holy bottled, but there is a lot of crap you have to deal with there's a lot of stuff you have to deal with the enemies running in very weird directions.
Why did it have to come to this? Dylan obviously wants us dead, and it's not particularly surprising given his past track record.
I do actually prefer the holy bottles from Berseria.
What do the holy balls in Berseria do exactly?
In Berseria, they are basically you cannot get aggroed by the enemy. They are not disappearing. They are just standing there. They notice you but don't do any movement.
Oh yeah, that's definitely better than them running away from you.
Yeah, definitely. In Zestiria, it is that enemies actually disappear that are lower below your level. So you only see high level enemies on the field.
Yeah. Okay, so
can
this
be
is the
good,
wave
which
fight,
can
by
be
the way.
bad.
The
Yeah,
one where
this
we
is a
use
chain
one
fight.
set of food to boost the XP for a whole fight, and this basically gets you the same experience or even more than a boss battle at this point.
Yeah, easily. I love this fight, by the way. It's my most favorite fight because I love chain battles. They are just so intriguing.
Trying to
Fun to
optimize
play.
it is not fun though, because what
Yeah,
you're
okay,
actually doing
I
is...
find that. I can totally understand that because you have to start all over again.
Well, okay, yeah, like the mechanics of this fight are that each wave ends when you kill all enemies after the dialogue is finished.
Mm,
Right? And then if you kill all the enemies before the dialogue finishes, more enemies spawn, and those ones still count.
yep.
And so optimizing this is basically... Well, it doesn't matter that much in New Game, because in New Game you just kill as many enemies as you can so that you can get as much experience as you can, because it's somewhat beneficial to have all that experience. But in New
Yeah,
Game
true.
Plus, like, optimizing this is really not fun.
Yeah, I can get behind that too.
I mean, it's been a while since anyone has really done a New Game Plus speedrun in this game. Jep did one like a couple of years ago, or might have been last year, I forget exactly, but...
I never got into the Xillia NG Plus run, I only did Xillia 2.
Yeah. Both Xillia and New Game Plus records are up for the taking, but even New Game Plus has a stupid amount of RNG.
You're right, of course. Our destination is just
Because of, well, a decent amount of the same things that happen in this run. Enemy positions, holy bottles being erratic and not really helpful. And with the way you set up the party, the fights can actually sometimes be dangerous, although Jeff also realized that hourglasses are a thing, unlike me, so you can make the fights pretty much completely safe if you just use hourglasses on every remotely challenging fight.
Oh, that's been a thing in Berseria, definitely.
Yeah, Berseria does the same for New Game Plus, but I
Yeah.
didn't realize it when I first did this game on New Game Plus, and I had some really trolly potential fights.
I can see that happening true.
Because for the most part, Xillia's New Game Plus, you don't carry over your stats directly. You have to reuse Liliamore from scratch.
You can take over levels, I think. Or wasn't that, or was that only an option in 2?
No, that's in 1, and in fact it's the reason
That's in
why
1, right,
1 is so
right.
overpowered. It's not in 2. But the thing is that you have to do all the Liliamore manually from scratch, even if you have all the points. Like, level 99 you can do the full Liliamore.
Oh, you don't have instantly the auto function?
Well, yeah, you can do the auto function, but you have to wait for the animation, and that takes forever.
Oh, yeah, right. For each new stage and stuff. Oh boy. Okay. Alright.
It's about a minute per character, so you want to basically do that on no one, or like one person at most. You have to do it on your own so that you can get a decent AoE move. Like, you need Tidal Wave, basically. Otherwise, this fight actually completely walls you, oddly enough. One of the easiest fights in New Game where you just stand there and spam spells, but it completely walls you in New Game Plus if you don't orb roam. I'm taking this chest for safety, and then this one is actually useful items. It's our first set of actually good gels.
18k XP. Wow.
And then we use that Takoyaki ramen that I picked up, and orb everyone once more. So depending on how good the wave fight was to you, you can either be level 37 or 38, not a huge difference. There aren't any more skills to set yet, but it's worth getting the stats out of the Liliamore for this next battle. Okay, this fight can be trolly, can definitely be very trolly, but is more likely to go well in the first Chimeriad fight. Because just because these enemies have such a small health pool relative to where you are in the game with damage.
No, I won't! Don't blame us if you die.
Now that's not very nice.
Like you're one to talk. Doesn't matter who stands in our way. We will carve our path.
And also I have Impenetrable Guard, so it's less likely that they hit me with Mr. Cut. Not completely out of the question.
Oh yeah, this fight, yeah.
Now this is one of the more trolly fights casually, but I've become a lot more overpowered since the last Chimeriad fight, so that's how it ends up being potentially easier for me than the last one. Okay, Wingull's dead, so we should be good.
Wingull is probably the most dangerous one besides Zhao, because Wingull is actually pretty fast and hits multiple times so he can lock you in place.
Well, Zhao isn't all that dangerous, because Zhao is so slow.
Yeah, he's so slow.
But he does have a
he's
Mr. Card,
like
and he's
a
about to use it, I
monster.
think, yeah. The AI doesn't
That's
always guard.
how it-
It's RNG with the
really
AI guards
nice.
properly.
Yeah.
But Zhao's Mr. Card can't kill either. Like I said, these guys have such a small health pool that they're almost dead already, despite them just activating their Mr. Card. Like, Cressa died without me even really targeting her.
From the Chimeriad. Can't imagine fighting them all at once.
We'd still win, no matter what.
Yeah, as you see, you are dropped to 1 HP only. So
Well,
normally a Mystic Art cannot
yeah.
outright kill you.
Some Mr. Cards will outright kill you.
Yeah, but yeah, some specific ones. I don't know which one it is. I only know that if you are getting a dot during the Mystic Art, you are pretty much dead afterwards of the ticks.
Yeah. And Gaius' one can kill you directly. I don't remember who else,
Oh,
but
really?
definitely
Okay.
Gaius' one.
Okay.
Alright, so slightly new strat before this fight. We need to use a Holy Bottle soon anyway, so we do it now, and we also take the time to move out our healers for the weak people. We put in Jude and Alvin, who haven't had orbs for a very long time. Alvin ever since like level 7, and Jude since around level 20 or so. So we can die much faster this fight with them.
In the name of the great spirits, I shall defeat you.
I had no idea at first that you can actually die to this fight. I actually try-harded my butt off to make this fight.
Yeah, and it's not all that... Well, it is difficult to win, but it's not ridiculous. Like, in
No, it's
terms
not
of unwinnable
ridiculous.
fights, it's... In terms of Tails'
But
unwinnable
he's
fights,
giving
it's
you
pretty
a
low down.
challenge. That's for sure.
He's a big challenge, but he is not absolutely ridiculous. yeah, we get to see one more use of that Milla infinite combo right from the start of the game. Although this time the experience matters absolutely diddly squat. Turn on auto items now even though I don't need them yet, just to make sure I don't forget later. Okay, well that time I actually somewhat pulled it off. Although I dropped it right at the end, but by that time the guy was basically already dead. But yeah, that's a trivial Milla solo fight. We'll get into one more Milla solo fight later and it's a lot more nasty.
Oh boy, yes.
The next Milla solo fight happens to be that one fight.
Mm-hmm.
But now we actually get a fairly decent party from this point onwards. We've obviously split, this is one of the big route splits between the two characters' routes. Not the biggest, but possibly the second biggest. Where Jude goes into the ice dungeon and Milla goes into the lava dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a lot better if it's the other way around, but alas, we will deal with this one. So, we have Rowan and Leia in our party? Yeah, I think it's Rowan and Leia. It's definitely Rowan anyway. The other member doesn't really matter, but I think it's Leia. And it's not Elise. So, we have Fireball, and that's all we really need.
Fireball solves all problems. Period.
And kindly enough, the game will actually put Rowan into first slot without me having to do it.
Oh, nice.
Feel the beat
And ride the rhythm.
all the way to
And that
victory.
I applied the medium Takoyaki Ramen to boost my attack all the way before the Chimera edit. Happens to last through... Well, Gaius actually counts as a use for some reason. He does, even though you get defeated instead of winning. But between Gaius... between the Chimera Gaius, that one fight with the soldier, and now that fight just now, we've got one more use left on that Takoyaki Ramen. So, conveniently, there's also one more... Hold on, what am I doing? It's this way. There's also one boss fight coming up as the very next fight, so the food usage works out exactly, where I can use that Takoyaki Ramen on the next boss. Not that the next boss is anything really worth mentioning, but it does still save a little bit of time. Also, I'd been forgetting to pick up item bags up to this point in this place. This is where I am meant to start doing it. Not a huge deal. I only missed out about one zone worth. And I have a lot of opportunity in the dungeons coming up to pick up more, but...
Okay, that's at least something. True.
I missed like one zone out of maybe 11 or 12.
Mind, even flames can feel cool.
So you say. They seem plenty hot to me.
So yeah, just pick up any item point that's remotely nearby the path. And now we get to fight the Fire Teagle. It would make a lot of it would make a lot of sense if this guy absorbed fire, wouldn't it? Like,
it would
they
actually
should
make a lot
have actually
of
done
sense.
that. But oh
Yeah.
wait, no, he doesn't.
I mean, if you're living in a place like this and you're adapting to your surroundings, I would assume.
He's also
yeah,
literally
the
on
game tells
fire.
Otherwise. Yeah, seriously, he is.
I'm
He
getting kind of
absolutely
trolled
is.
by his start though. He's actually doing some annoying attacks. But yeah, we just fireball the Fire Teagle.
For whatever reason.
And he gets absolutely melted by it. You can also burn him, because sense is made.
Yep.
Okay, well he actually managed to kill me, because he used that flame charge while I was at low health. Also, Leia is sometimes really annoying and uses resurrection instead of your revival items, and you really want her to use the items. Okay, well, the Fire Teagle's already down, despite that being pretty much the trolliest cannon he can give you.
Oh, he just ran over you. Wow.
Yeah.
My mustache is singed
So
just
that
like
fight
Captain
taking a minute is
Soldier,
actually
because
about 20 seconds longer than it usually does. He normally just gets absolutely melted, but he actually used some of his more aggressive attacks this time. I suppose I get slightly more experience in exchange, but the experience from one regular enemy is very little at this point. Because of my copious abuse of XP food, I'm actually, I would say, almost over-leveled at this point. If not, at least on par with where the game expects you to be.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Like, you melt through the Chimeriad, you melt through the Fire Teagle in terms of damage. They both go down very quickly compared to bosses before them. All that despite the resistance. And then after the Fire Teagle the game starts to catch up with you a bit again. And the reason I set that quick jump point all the way back at the start of the game is for this moment. After I exit this cave, I can jump to the other side of this area to skip about 20-30 seconds worth of walking. That's cool and all. We are now reuniting the party. I love a slight piece of immersion in this game is that you go to different bedrooms whether you're controlling Jude or Milla. They actually have
Oh yeah,
the
right.
gender bedrooms.
Yeah, now that you mention it. True.
I mean, again, it's very small, but all the small things add up, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't care about this, other people do have an eye for that. I mostly just realized it afterwards, after like seeing it again or so. But I love this little nitty bitty.
Okay, so after we take a small time to rest in the temple, we can move on with sieging Cambalar, since Cambalar got took over by the Exodus guys in the story that we've been completely ignoring for the most part.
All right. Now this is some pretty nice gear.
You really are cutting an
So the
impressive
king's
edge.
sieging his own city and we're sort of helping him, not really. He's officially not acting with us, but that's okay. So I used the spiking decision roll that I picked up earlier and get Alvin and Jude back out of my party from earlier. It actually reconstructs the same party you had for Gaius,
Perfect
oddly
weather
enough.
for an infiltration.
Oh really? Wow.
Well, it seems like very similar anyway.
Mm.
In any case, you have to take Jude and Alvin back out, so I assume it's the same. Okay, and this is where I might have to take a force encounter depending on which path that soldier took, but she took a favourable one, so I didn't have to fight her. If she runs into the door, then you fight her. There's like no questioning it, you run into her and you fight her, because it is way faster to get the encounter and to run away than to do anything else. But if she doesn't run into the door, then obviously you get to skip right by. I'd say it's maybe about a 50-50 chance whether you have to take the fight.
Yeah, probably. I remember this enemy. Just seeing it. It really depends on the path you take and at what point she starts running. So if you get actually to her right side, then you're more or less good. If she acts early on and you're kind of like on the way to her, she can actually run straight up and block the door.
Yeah, but if she's in the middle, then it can be harder to get onto her right side. I guess she was kind of in the middle that time, but...
You kind of like squeezed yourself a little bit in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Alright, so free fights.
Victory.
Just keeps.
We get an extra level here if we have the... Well, we don't necessarily get an extra level, but it makes sure that we get to the next level, which helps just a tiny bit. A few more Lillian Law
Also,
points.
after... Was it before or after the fights is one of the most hilarious cutscenes actually in the game.
Well, one of the Ivor ones, well, every cutscene with Ivor
Yeah,
has
the
some
Ivor
value.
one. The Ivor one is like... it's so good.
Now this is another use for Windlance, just because these guys are really big and so you can generally hit all three of them. Now I think there's
Oh
only
yeah,
one left.
third fight, right?
So this is
Yes.
Well, this fight, like, if you try to use Fireball only on it, and or if they start jumping, it can actually drag on a bit. They did jump a little bit, but they were on the ground when my second Windlance cast went off, so I was still able to clean them up pretty quickly.
That was really good, yeah.
Again, just luck based on when they decide to do their jump, if they decide to do it at all.
Mm.
This game has a lot of more subtle RNG like that, which can save and lose time, without
Yeah,
really
it's not
ever giving you a
like-
chance to kill you.
Yeah, it's not like RNG is straight up in your face. It's more of a hidden thing and appears just here and there. But you notice it as soon as it appears. You actually notice it also directly.
Yeah, like every fight in the game having random overlimit, or every fight after, say, Agriel 2, having random overlimit is obviously a huge source of RNG in the second half of the run. But
Mm.
until you actually get overlimited and lose that 30 seconds or whatever, then you're not really acknowledging it. You just acknowledge that, yes, I will get overlimit on some fights unless I'm the luck god. And yes, I will lose time to it, but I have no idea where and how much. And I can't necessarily control it either. So we ignore Wingull. He sets off a somewhat interesting side quest if you talk to him there, but side quest. Or it might just be a single cutscene, but either way. Alright, well now there's another wall of cutscenes. Not as big as some of the earlier ones, but fairly long, with one small battle interspersed between.
Wait, you're actually going inside the ship, right? Yeah, that's okay. I remember now.
Yeah, we're
Which
heading
part
into
we
the
are?
ship soon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after we skip these next few cutscenes anyway.
Oh yeah.
I got past the scrub battle, got pretty good pattern. Not the most amazing pattern because you can just kill them in one wind lance, but they still came pretty close to dying to that first wind lance. There was only one left.
Still looking pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, and I have to skip something with X here, and I need to quickly make use of this shop. Because I skipped a spicy chicken roll medium earlier because I didn't have enough money for it, but now I do.
Okay.
And this is where I need it. If you can afford it, then you buy it all the way back before the wave fight. And you use it, like, right after this battle here. Okay, again, that looks like a pretty good pattern. Yeah, that time I actually did get the one shot, and it took 3 seconds instead of 9.
Wow, nice.
It's not actually 3 seconds because of lag, like, hitting that many wind
Yeah,
lances
it's the
and
same
negative gate is
deal.
really laggy, but
Yeah, it's the same deal as in Berseria, that the game gives you the battle time in frames, basically.
yeah, not counting lag.
based on the frames, so real time is different than the actual in-game time. You kind of like get an idea how fights went, like frame-wise, but not real time-wise.
Alright, those two cutscenes tell us about these doors that are locked right now. We need to go and unlock them. Well, it's like a laser barrier, in fact, in front of the doors. But for the sake of simplicity, it's just locked doors.
Please.
And then we enter the jazz ship properly. And
Oh, the jazz. Yes.
yeah, Wandering Mind is the one who loves to call us the smooth jazz ship. For me, it's just a ship of turning left, because that's all you ever do.
That's also true, yeah. If you ever get lost in this, and I got, because I had no idea, but it's basically just always left. It's always left.
Yeah, like every time you come out of a room, you turn left. That's the way you get through it. You don't always
But the
turn
music
left in the actual
actually was
movement,
really
but
good.
like every first turn after you come out of a room is left. And that can easily get you through the place. And again, at this point I'm picking up every glowing point or bag. Bags, again, slightly less favoured because they have a higher chance of giving me junk. But to be entirely fair, they also have a higher chance of giving higher quantities of the materials I want, so it's a bit of a trade-off. For a marathon, I'd prefer to just have more materials than I need rather than less, so I'm going to pick them up.
Oh, I can understand that.
So, after that first teleport across the sides, we can go all the way to the end of this side and deactivate the first barrier generator. And then we'll have to teleport over to the other side again to get to the second one, and then teleport back to this side so we can actually exit. Because there are blockages in the paths at certain points. There's also a bit of weird RNG in this ship. The enemies, you'll notice that there haven't been any overworld enemies yet. Well, they kind of don't spawn any overworld enemies until they get alerted, and the alert comes on a random timer. And if the timer takes long enough, then they can not block your way at all. Like, these are obviously really thin hallways that I'm going through right now, and I don't want there to be enemies, period. But there's a random timer which will start spawning enemies here.
Yeah, they also take a little bit of time until they actually arrive as well.
Well, they arrive as soon as you take an area transition after the
Yeah.
after the heavy alert.
So
But-
you're not immediately in danger in the area you're currently in.
Yeah, the timer can't trigger until you're, like, at least, in the speedrun sense, the timer can't trigger until you've at least deactivated the two barrier bars. I got favourable RNG, I only got the timer activating when I was in the final room. Like, as soon as I leave this room, there are enemy spawns regardless, because I'm no longer in the hallway area. But as long as I don't get spawns in this room, then it's optimal RNG. But I'm still going to use the holy bottle anyway, because
Yeah,
I need it
better
for
safe
later.
than sorry.
It's for later rather than for now, but yeah. If I had got the spawns in that last room, or even in the second to last room if I was super unlucky, then I use a holy bottle to make it a little easier to avoid them. You still have to play around how they're randomly moving, but it's better than them charging straight at you in super thin hallways.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
There's basically no way to dodge them if you don't have a holy bottle unless you do a lot of baiting, and even then. Alright, so I'm starting to get the skills that will let me... Wait, hold on. Oh, Leia gets TP Surge as well. I'm starting to get the skills that will let me... Oh, this is right down the bottom, okay. Let's try saying that for the third time. I'm starting to get the skills that will let me revive with full health, even if I'm only using a life bottle. So those will help quite a bit. Like, a life bottle only revives you with 25% or 30% health by default. But these skills...
Yeah, something around that, yeah.
There's still
These
more.
skills called HP Surge and TP Surge are the most busted things. because they let you revive with full health from any revive, which basically means that some of the items become useless. But hey, who really cares? If it benefits us, it benefits us. Okay, Gilland and Celsius.
Oh
One
boy.
of the more trolley boss fights to kick off a kind of wall of trolley boss fights. This one, he has a laser. That's about all you need to know.
Time I got rid of you.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. Or you'll hopefully pray.
And it's the reason why we target Gillen first instead of Celsius, even though Celsius is fire weak. As for what I want them to do, I want them to link. I really, really want them to link. And they have quite early on in this fight, so that's good. Not only do they take way more damage when they're linked, they also stand still. And Celsius, if she's not linked, she moves all over the place.
Yeah.
So you really,
She's the
really want them
moment.
to link so that Celsius stays still. So yeah, link as soon as much as possible. I'm dead. And I got resurrected instead of... Okay, they linked again. Yeah, like, them linking is optimal as long as they don't cast their linked art, which is kind of like an instant laser. But they aren't that likely to cast it. Also, I got the double burn. Okay, Gillen's dead, I win the fight. Now it's just
Nice.
Celsius RNG, and she's almost already dead because of the link. But she's still trolling a bit. Like, she runs around like crazy, and Fireball tracks relatively straight. It has
Yeah,
a little bit of
slight
bend.
correction, a little bit, but it's absolutely not a homing missile or so.
Yeah. And we got pretty optimal Gillen and Celsius in the end, apart from Rowan dying that one time.
Which can happen, which is more or less expected to happen in
Yeah.
most cases.
Because... mainly because of Celsius being Celsius. Like, Celsius being Celsius is what killed me. Gilland was very, very cooperative. He never tried to laser.
True.
But Celsius did manage to ambush me once. Alright, so that's the end of chapter 3. Final chapter, trolley chapter. Not as hard to learn as it is, as chapter 1 is for like new people. But perhaps the most RNG based chapter. Like, once you're more comfortable with the game, I think it becomes a harder chapter than chapter 1. I'm still not amazingly comfortable with chapter 1, as you could see when I died to Zhao, but this chapter is still worse even for me than chapter 1, I would say.
It can be problematic because if you haven't spent much time with Milla until this point and you are not comfortable with her controls and her skills, you can actually have a really bad time in this part of the game. Because you have no one else and you have to rely on basically what you got for Milla and with Milla.
Yeah, you get slammed with one of the hardest boss battles in the whole game in this place.
Yes, absolutely agree on that.
Also one of the most RNG based.
True.
The one where a single over limit matters the most, I would say. Like, obviously there are components of other battles where an overlimit is bad, but I would say that the overlimit timing for this battle is the most important in the whole game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the other part of Overlimit is that enemies, or mainly bosses, they use only certain skills while in Overlimit.
Oh yeah,
And the next one, the skill that gets used is actually really hard to dodge.
one thing about overlimit is that enemies can cast spells and then immediately move while the spell is animating.
That as well, yeah, true.
And that's exclusive to overlimit, and it's the reason why overlimit kills you. If she casts a certain spell, you basically can't win, unless you get an extremely favourable RNG out of her while the spell is going. The spell, of course, being Sunburst. Like, if she casts Sunburst and does pretty much anything else while Sunburst is going, you're going to die. Unless you have
Yeah.
full health and she's very kind, like she manages to not touch you while Sunburst is coming down. Because you don't really have the opportunity to magic guard it, because if you magic guard, then she'll just do a melee combo on you.
Yes. Sunburst is probably one of the longest animations while doing also damage, besides like something like Tidal Wave.
Yeah. You have to, like, as soon as she casts it, you have to try and run away from her as far as possible, and then also Magic
Yes.
Guard and hope that she doesn't go into her Sharpened Whip combo. Because that's instant death from full health in a speedrun. And even in a casual it usually is, to be fair.
Casually, I had really big problems because I never touched Milla at all because I didn't care. I was still using Jude, and then I came to this area and I was like, oh boy, I'm gonna be stuck here for a bit.
Oh, yeah, and if you were listening right back at the start of the run, this is where we're going through the same areas again. Because they count as different areas, so quick travel doesn't have them registered.
Yes.
So this is kind of the Spirit World version of the towns and areas around Neokara. We can't enter Neokara itself yet. That's the ultimate destination, is Neokara and the shrine, but first I have to go all the way down to the Aladi Sea Haven to see some cutscenes that will let me actually enter Neokara and then progress the story from there. But for now it's just a really long walk. But conveniently that is the chance to pick up all the shop materials I'll need. And the shop materials will allow me to actually buy Milla a weapon because she's got her default weapon right now.
Yeah, Milla is not getting an upgrade, but this is also a part we mentioned earlier between the difference between Jude and Milla's path, where everyone else, seriously everyone else, gets a major equipment upgrade for free. You have not to buy anything.
Yeah.
They are getting on top tier at this point in the game, and it's usually mostly better than what you get from Milla.
Yeah, I'll reiterate, I invest all my materials into the weapon shop. I get a fairly decent weapon for Milla, and then the ones I get for the rest of my party for free are like 2 or 3 tiers better still.
That's why I
Yeah.
always make their fruit so sweet.
And Jude will not have that. I mean, Jude will get for Milla an upgrade, but yeah, well, that's 1 out of 6 characters, so you still have to get resources to get all the other characters that you are using up. And that's the major issue, or was overall the major issue to handle in Jude's
What
route.
a pain.
Yeah, the main thing that is in Jude's favour is that you eventually become over-leveled relative to Milla, because you have to go through that stupid boss gauntlet.
True, yeah. You have more XP overall.
So you're like level 60 for the end instead of level 55. It makes a small difference in some places. Not as much as the gear would, but you do get some gear upgrades by just
Yeah, it's a slight
buying them.
compensation. Yeah.
Alright, so there's 3 cutscenes in this place. I just need to remember not to actually go to the inn, because the inn is a trap. I mean, I have to go into the inn, but I don't actually want to sleep at the inn. The cutscene in the inn is just kind of sitting over to the side here. Like, the last time you go into this inn, like 2.5 hours ago, you actually sleep in it. But this time it's just seeing these spirits do their thing. Okay, so those 3 cutscenes are over. Now I actually registered the quick jump to Neokara, Spirit Side Neokara anyway, all the way back at the start of the Spirit World, so that I wouldn't have to go through the Kajara Sea Falls again. You can just run straight all the way down to the Sea Haven, but then the only quick jump you'll have available to you is Kajara Sea Falls on Galia Trailside, which means you have to go through the entire place again. And it's just barely faster to not do that, and to first go and register Neokara and then come back. It's not a huge difference because you don't... Because if you register Neokara, then you have to double up a significant amount of the Sea Falls anyway. But it's still a little better to get the jump point than it is to not get it.
You should probably look forward more how she is dealing with us, not we are dealing with her, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a decent chance that Milla kills me once or twice, hopefully not more than in the splits I'm comparing against, which died to her like 6 times. I've got basically sample free 30 splits, but they're interesting. because they die to Muse 6 times. So if I don't get 6 try Muse, then this should be fairly comfortable estimate pace. We'll see.
Yeah, there's just only so much we can do about Museum.
Yeah. Like, I do have room for error, like, I will admit that sometimes when I die it is my fault. And I definitely fucked up there, I stood still while there was an enemy nearby. And I don't have chicken run, so it's going to take a little while to escape. Not a huge amount of time, because like I said, I'm like pretty much on par with how I'm meant to be in levels because of all the XP food abuse. So it didn't take that long, but... Alright, so... Now that we're actually paying attention, get item shop to level 20. Like as close to level 20 as possible. And then put everything else that I have into the weapon shop. And whatever level I get is whatever level. Looks like I'm gonna get a decent level, yeah, I'm just gonna stop there at 54. Just in case I had any more. Okay, so now max out a lot of gels, because I have a lot of money at this point in the game. And buy the best weapon for Milla that they have, which is the Rune Blade. And then one more menu, I'll do it once I enter this place. So, Milla gets that Knight's Crest that Rowan had earlier. He will get it back. Well, he's not going to get that back, but he's going to get a better accessory soon. We use the orb. Get as many new skills as possible. Not all of them are always available. Assault free. Earth Guard, all the guards. Not at Mirage Assault. I want HP Restoration Guard and Conservative Shift. And then finally set up arts. I want Undine and I want Divine Streak. Oops, it's there. Alright. So Muse I'm going to try and just combo, mainly using Dean from a distance, but sometimes I'll get in some Radiant Rondos, which are the melee form of Divine Streak. The start of the fight is usually pretty standard. You use one Undine and then guard, but I stuffed it up very slightly. And then I tried to use a second Undine by mistake.
You mainly want to guard because of her dash attack, her teleport.
She got Spire for all from me. Now this is where I would like to have another elixir, so that I can heal both my HP and my TP at the same time. I don't have any left right now. How did that hit me? What? Okay, I have to risk this. She's in overlimit right now. And the way to dodge Elemental Him is to stay close to her and do circles, but the problem with that is that it can get killed by other attacks. And now that she's under half health, she's actually kind of less dangerous, sort of. Well, depending on if she overlimits again, but... She'll generally now use Stun Blitz as her stagger attack, or Shard and Petals. Ah, damn it, I got hit right at the end. Alright, well, we'll try again. At least one death was expected.
I actually got killed. Oh.
Honestly, I was probably trying to talk about it too much.
Combo. Yeah.
Ah, damn it, I wasn't able to back second time.
I'll rip you apart.
Alright, she's overloaded again, let's see what she does. This generally isn't too bad as long as I can get out of it quickly enough. Gravity well. Okay, we got it this time. Second try isn't too bad.
Please stand down.
Nice.
Am I strong?
Definitely acceptable for a marathon run.
Oh, definitely.
So now we're probably on sub 320 pace unless the final boss is trolley. We'll see. It's not a brilliant
We're
run
gonna
by any
get there.
means, but it's a good enough run anyway.
I mean, considering what happened in between and whatnot.
Because I offered 320 as my estimate for this game initially on
Mm.
SSD, and then it ended up as 330, but we'll see if I can sub 320 or not. It's kind of dependent on how the final boss goes. Alright, so this is another place where I use a holy bottle just because Finn passages, but here I definitely sometimes have to wait for enemies to get out of my way.
Oh yeah, this area is actually well known for trolley enemy behavior. Because it's so... It's kind of like the corner issue usually in games as well, and enemies are getting stuck at weird corners or so all of a sudden.
I might
And
have
then
to encounter
behave
this
like-
tree.
Mad.
Okay, I just barely managed to get to the area transition. There was a really fat enemy blocking the area transition, but
One of these treants.
yeah.
Yeah, they are the most annoying ones here actually.
There was just enough room to squeeze by him. Okay, these horses are actually the most annoying one once you have a holy bottle because they act really, really erratically. Another tree somewhat near the transition, but again, not quite as tight that time.
This is it. We use the light here at the summit.
And now we get our full party back. Just in time for Maxwell.
I was about to say, to just drop into the next boss fight instantly.
Yep. And this is the final use of that spicy chicken roll that we used all the way before Gillen because it's only been boss battles. Now Rowan will set back up his wind resistance because there's another fight with what's his name? Wingirl coming up. And we'll also give Jude the might ring to increase his strength. And now start orbing people. This is the point of the game that I mentioned a while back where I stopped orbing Leia. She doesn't need anything more really. And then set some stat boosting skills on everyone. Conductor 2. Just the least actually. Strength, Vitality, Psych 2. Stamina 2, Spirit 2, Spirit 3. Oh, it's Strategy. Upgrade the gels, because I bought all the best gels, but I am going to also add orange gels as a backup because you usually run out of pineapple gels. And also change this to any ailment. Alright, so now Maxwell, he starts off resisting fire, which is obviously bad. So we would prefer him to change form, although he can change to any of the 4 elements of his base element, although it's not that likely that he changes. He might change his face.
I think if you change
50%.
it, you prefer to have wind on him.
Yeah, wind is the absolute safest just because its arcane art has a ridiculously low proc of actually causing the mystic art. Whereas Earth has like the easiest one for him to use his Mystic Art. Earth is actually a really good one apart from the fact that you can get Mystic Arted really easily. I got Earth like pretty much straight away.
Oh
So-
yeah, I see it.
Also,
Oh, wow.
Maxwell's Mystic Art is completely RNG by the way because it hits you.
It's a big AoE. Oh, there we go. Meteor Storm. The second. we got 2 Meteor Storms.
It's actually
already
random
today,
whether-
so
It hits you.
it's if you're not, and it causes a lot of damage. And there we go. Mystic Art 2/2. Meteor Storm 2/2.
Oh great, there's another one. And he's
Oh,
going
really?
going after Milla again. Why doesn't he go after me? I can guard it. Milla won't. Okay, so there's Meteor Storm number 3. Okay, so again, this is just RNG, how much I get hit. I'm going to buy extra life bottles for the sake of this run. Okay, this time he didn't status me, so that's not as bad.
Oh wow.
Slow
That's
Maxwell
second
fight itself because of the 2 Mystic Arts, but that one... Okay, he's dead.
I heard a voice.
Yeah, very slow Maxwell fight, but that's all the experience we really need for the whole game. From now on I'm going to be using stat boosting food again,
Alright.
like I did on the Chimeriad, and you saw how effective that was. When I kind of melted
Nice.
that Chimeriad fight earlier, and
Oh yeah, you did.
well, almost melted the Fire Teagle, but then he actually gave me bad patterns. But yeah, going back to stat food definitely saves a considerable chunk.
Still a good recovery on the Maxwell fight.
Yeah.
Cause that one can easily get out of hand.
We got
split
lucky that
second.
the second Mystic Art didn't burn. Or
Yeah.
poison. I don't know if it can poison, but burning is the big
I'm
one, and it
quite impressed with
burns
these
you most of the
armaments.
time.
I'm all the
I
stronger.
think it might actually matter which particular meteors hit you. As much as
I don't
stupid
know.
that is.
It's hard to tell actually.
Yeah, because some resistances flash up when you get hit by the meteors.
This is the
So I'm thinking that
Olympics.
they might
that's
actually still have element.
Actually,
Visitors from
I
these
think
elect-
actually that's elemental resistance.
Yeah, like-
that's popping up.
Maxwell is meant to have lost the elements, but apparently Meteor Storm is still elemental. So I think you might have to get hit by fire meteors to actually get burnt. Okay, so I'm going to play it safe and max out my life bottles again here. I only need 3, so I could have probably skipped that, but just playing absolutely sure. The most direct means of replenishing my life bottles.
So this is the world that Maxwell cut off in...
I could have also bought pineapple gels, and maybe I should have, but too late now. With both 15 pineapple gels and 15 orange gels, I should be okay on TP. If you only have pineapple gels, you usually run out. But since I took the time to set the extra strat to use orange gels as well, by the end it should be okay. So that first part was basically just getting acclimatized to this new unfamiliar world. Now
This lamp is
we have an
casting
actual
light
goal.
without channeling spirits.
Perhaps that cable is somehow conveying luminescent energy
And
to that lamp.
one boss fight that triggers me the most.
Hmm.
But not because it's in Xillia 1, because it's in Xillia 2,
And
and
yet,
it's one of the
I can't
worst
help
boss
but want to
fights in
save
the
it.
game.
Yeah, it is. Well, up there with Sienna Bronc, but... and a few
Well,
others.
Sienna Bronc is basically just because of the XP farming and slightly annoying patterns.
Yeah.
But the really most annoying fight and frustrating fight is Volt.
What a dreary landscape.
By contrast,
that
Volt in
guy
this game
is-
is...
In Xillia 1, Volt is completely fine. He is okay. In Xillia 2, not so.
I'm not going to claim that he's completely free. He doesn't have a Mystic Art, so his overlimit doesn't do a lot, but he can still bounce around and waste time.
Yeah, the bouncing is the greatest issue because it does a lot of damage.
Well,
And he sometimes chains it and doesn't stop until you are dead.
yeah, I do have a decent amount of elemental resistance, but I'm not really set up to resist fire. I do have Rowan set up to resist wind. Like, for Wind Gull mainly. You set that up so you can absorb Wind Gull. Although the fire component of stuff like his Mystic Art will still kill you if he lands it. But it does mean that you can deal with most of his spells apart from Flame Ring, although getting hit by Flame Ring is, well... You can deal with most of his spells for free, and you can deal with a lot of his physical attacks for free, and just face tank them. Okay, so I'm gonna have to use another Holy Bottle soon, but first,
I can't believe
this one
the
will
size of this
take a while to
facility.
expire. Also, I need to be
Everything
very
Olympias
careful
is
here
so
of
grand again.
enemies running into me. Okay, so Holy Bottle now, and we use the Fruit Rekisoba, and set up Rowan's Orb, Milla's Orb, and Elise's Orb. So the Fruit Yakisoba Large boosts all stats by 25%, pretty much the best stat food in the game. And we get one for free all the way back at the end of Chapter 1, when we talk to Leia's mom. So now
Heck yeah!
I've done the menuing, I've got my last Holy Ball active. And my job for now is
Leia,
to
if I may be so
avoid
bold,
getting baited
you
into
have
trying to
a
pass
piece of
enemies that are running away from me.
and what-
Or just avoid getting trolley patterns in the first place. But we'll see. The hard part is actually coming up once we actually enter the 10th floor proper. Okay, so now I carry on down the hallway. I've got two enemies next to each other. Really depends on which way they go. Okay, I got one encounter, but it was A, a back attack, and B, I have chicken run again. Although the back attack actually wastes slightly small amounts of time because I have to see them take damage. Also, I activated Leia's Steel skill, so I got a random material, but I'm not going to use any more materials.
Wow. Oh, this area and the wolves, yeah, they are kind of bad.
I mean, there isn't any great enemy here. They're all trolling away because the ones that aren't wolves are generally really big.
I'm not afraid of the
But the
dark.
wolves move really erratically when you've got a holy bottle
We're
up.
counting on you, Elise.
So, go through 3 floors and then only one last enemy to pass. Just quickly get him past and go through the store and we're out. And that is the last hard part of enemy dodging in the whole game. So in this game, lightning is actually made out of fire and wind. Like, it's not its own element, it's fire and wind. So this guy resists fire, but does that matter? No. Of course not. He did manage to knock down Milla. Milla's actually the second most damage dealer now. Well, she always was because negative gate doesn't do much, but she especially is now with Undine. Because Undine's damage is pretty high.
Okay, we finally stopped it.
Everyone all right?
Yes, somehow.
All the electric shocks may have helped my blood circulation.
But yeah, we still managed to kill Volt in 30 seconds despite his fire resistance. Undine does help, but Rowan still does way more damage than Milla. And you can still burn him, again, fire resistant enemies taking burns. In other,
They don't care.
yeah, in other games, there are sometimes
They would be immune to it,
Yeah.
actually.
having enemies immune to status effects that don't make sense for them to have.
Yep. That as well true.
Oh hey, let's burn the fire teagle. It's made of fire.
Yep. So it can burn more? Shouldn't it be more powerful
hell
then
would
actually?
Valentinus
Like
just
getting an attack buff and so on?
Yeah, that would make sense. It should heal it, to be honest.
I mean, it would make sense and it would actually be interesting. So some different interactions.
Yeah,
Although
Xillia
in
does actually
other
use
games it is
elemental
actually
absorbs.
the
They're just
case.
very, very rare. They're only really
Yeah.
used on gimmick bosses.
Look, something green for once.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect to see a big forest
Okay, so
anytime
at this
soon.
point in the game, we're having to go through a whole bunch of plot advancement. The last kind of regular overworld area in the game. First. 3 screens full of this, and then a place that counts as a dungeon, but is really just the gateway to the real dungeon.
Mm.
The dimensional fracture, or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, actually one of the most impressive areas in my opinion. Like when I first entered that on my playthrough, I was actually blown away because I mean it's not an overly impressive area from design perspective, but it so fits. I don't know what it was, but it blew me away actually. It was so different for some reason.
And in Xillia 2 you get to encounter the first Chronos there, which is another casual troll.
Mm-hmm.
So people might dislike it for that reason, but in the speedrun, generally Kronos does not register as a threat because you've already done the Xenomorph grind before him. He can still waste a decent amount of time, but
Kronos can be really trolly because he's a little bit like Maxwell in his Earth state, where he just can so easily trigger Mystic Arts, and Kronos has multiple options for doing that.
well, not in that
And
first fight, right?
I don't understand. The spirit fossil came off. How is she able to
Actually, in all his fights, he can do it.
Or does he just have a quite weak one in his first fight? Like the one at the Dimension Fracture?
I actually don't remember right now. I mean, the first fight you normally die as soon as possible.
No, no, the first fight, the one in Chapter 7.
Ah, yeah, right. No, no. Okay, he has no there. No, no.
Yeah.
I know. I remember which fight you mean. Yeah, right. No,
Yeah.
there is none.
He is still a casual troll, like he has some really
Oh yes,
good
he
hit
is.
stuns, and he's got Tetracell, which is
Yep.
the most notorious one for casuals.
I was like in the full Chronos, where he has the things on his back.
Yeah.
Also, just thinking about these.
Okay, so this is like basically the final set of reflections of the party, of course. They know that this is the final boss segment coming up. They're slightly generous at
Typical
savvy.
Tales. Yeah. Typical Tales sequences.
No, not the Heliovolt Fortress. Dimensional Breach, that's what it's called. So, quick jump here. We've got the knife. We can tear a portal. Well, there's already a portal, but we tear it wider so we can actually fit for it.
Look, everyone, look!
And Leia's talking about her new equipment now, which is interesting. I don't know why, but she is. So, hey.
Hmm.
So,
What do
the
you
Temporal
know?
Crossroads is the final dungeon. Pretty cool music, although that doesn't
Oh,
start
yeah,
until
I
after the
was-
Wingull boss.
I was actually about to mention that the music in this area is also pretty damn dope.
There's actually some pretty decent items in here as well. So, first off, right next to where we spawn is the first Omega Elixir.
What a crazy place!
Full
But
heal
that's
to the whole
okay.
party.
We're used.
Have to bait around these enemies at least until after Wingull. Sometimes, or most of the time, you also have to bait until after the next boss fight as well, but... Okay, so Wingull generally can troll, of course. He's so mobile. But in terms of Rowan, we only really care about A, his Arcane Art, and B, his Rising Phoenix. So I'm gonna take this slow and safe and just guard like crazy until he's out of overmatch. Okay, let's go. Because like I said earlier, Impenetrable Guard. But yeah, Rising Phoenix will actually do a lot of damage to me, like over 1000. It did 1000 to Milla, and Milla has a lot more defense. So we just played it extremely safe during that overlimit. Okay, he's dead. That was actually half decent win goal. Not perfect, because you can kill him before he overlimits.
Rowan.
Although he is reasonably likely to overlimit at least once. Alright. That's win goal, so... Next up is Muse 2, but first there's going to be a pretty major menu. So, we get Solo Milla, the final Solo Milla fight of the game, which is pretty non-notable. Before we get there, second useful item in here is Hourglass. Only one Hourglass means that its use is somewhat limited, because you can't do that much in the period of one Hourglass in this game, or in New Game, but I still got a use for it, so it's worth picking up. And the enemies are running away from me. It's kind of... I think at this point it's actually RNG whether they run away from me or try to aggro me. Because there's a... Like, if you're around exactly their level, then Poly Bottles will work like that. Where they either come towards you or run away from you. So if I go up right next to this wolf before I actually use Undine, then it does slightly more damage because I get one extra hit out of it, and that makes sure that I'm hopefully able to kill him in 3 hits, although it's still 3 uses of Undine, although it's still a bit of a damage range. Okay. Now I've got Jude in my party, that's cool. He's a lot better at than Milla at melee combat, given what we have for resources right now. Now I'm coming up on a rather trolley boss. Muse 2. Not anywhere near as trolly as Muse 1, but still got plenty of stuff she can do to you. But first we get about a minute break while Jude's orb finally gets filled after so long. I can either do this over time as the speedrun goes on, or do it all now. And because I want to die to Gaia's quickly, all the way back there, at around the 2 hour 15 mark, I just want to do it all now instead. So Jude's orb expands like 8 times, and then we set up his skills, because he's got quite a few new skills at this point. Grab a few that Milla missed out on earlier, and then go balanced for this time for Jude as the default, and then disable one thing and enable one thing. We need level restore for after this fight. And then get rid of a few things. Okay. So, Muse 2, I want to try and build up my overlimit gauge, but not actually use overlimit. Now I happen to have 2 moves which
Of course not. Why should I
do a
follow
lot of
any
hits,
rules
which is
that
ideal. Oh, actually, I need to
I don't understand.
I need to use a
Why are you
link
always
up first. What am I doing?
treated differently? Why is it always you?
Oh, stop using that stupid attack! Okay. Now, let's start building the link art gauge. I forgot that I had a always have a full segment to begin with. Alright. Just use Twin Lance as many times as I can while I'm building up the power. The damage on Savage Roar and Undine is also pretty high. God damn it, both got stunned. Okay, well, she's dead, that's fine. Pretty slow fight, but I have basically full overlimit for the start of Gaius and Muse, so that means that fight is more likely to go well. Alright. So level restore should have restored my health, but I'm still going to quickly give Jude his new skills. And nothing for Milla, okay.
One wrong step.
So I have 1 Omega Elixir, 1 Hourglass. I'm going to be extremely safe and pick up a 2nd Omega Elixir. I don't really need this, honestly, considering that I have to full overlimit gauge. It shouldn't be necessary, but we'll just play 100% sure and grab it. It's not too far out of the way, about 5 seconds. It's just right here, instead of going down to the jump point, I come this way. And 2nd Omega Elixir. And now, let's do it, the final boss fight. So, I'm not sure whether I have full overlimit or 1 off, like 1 gauge off, but have a look. Okay, I have 1 gauge off, hold on, okay. So Milla uses the Hourglass immediately. Unfortunately they didn't group up before Milla got off the Hourglass.
Oh, hi Gaius.
So we just want to use this link art cage as much as we can. Okay, and Rowan comes in. There's a decent chance that Rowan might just finish off Muse here, or at least come close. Okay, he didn't quite. Okay, she's dead. now we wait for her to respawn, because she's got that
Yeah, she
going
got
on.
the second life happening, basically. If she dies, Gaius revives her one time.
Well, no, she's got her own skill, it's called Angel's Cry.
Is it actually her own skill? Okay.
Yeah, okay, she's dead, that's really good. This is actually a really, really good boss fight so far. So now I changed to Rowan. Should be time in about a minute or two. Okay, so I got an amazing start to the fight.
Yeah.
Muse is already completely gone.
Good. Wow.
Gaius cannot revive her, so
Yeah.
it's over.
After the second time, she is down for the count.
Yeah, she has Angel's Cry, which Elise can get, and I think maybe Jude as well.
Yes, he can.
Well, I don't know if he can get it in this game or if he can only get it in.
No, he can get in this game. I remember Burning Gene using quite a bit.
Elise, I swear to God. Okay, she's got swapped out. I nearly died, which would have been a huge waste of that good start.
Ooh.
Fully charged.
Okay.
So I just need to Omega Elixir. Okay, so now
Day.
Wow.
the swap out probably saved the day.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if Elise would have been able to get off the Omega Elixir. I had queued it with her.
Wow,
He's
this is
almost
like
dead,
the
okay.
first time Alvin is actually being useful.
Victory's ours.
Alvin saving the day, man.
Yes.
Man,
Finally over.
you're not gonna forget.
Okay,
this
that's
day.
time on my end, so about
Okay.
10 more seconds, I suppose.
Oh, I thought you said time. Oh.
Well, I said it was time on my end, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like, the time for this game is actually after you clear the final kill scene, but it could be final hit for all we care. It's only like a 10-second difference.
Man, GG, dude.
Yeah,
You
that
were
ended
nailing
up finishing really well. Rough start.
Yeah, definitely.
I honestly, everything up until around Noctgal was not great, but then things went decently after that, apart from one death to Muse.
Even if we
But yeah,
unite the
so
two
thank you
worlds,
very much,
it is pure
Dabomstew.
fantasy.
Yeah, that
I hope
They will cooperate.
that
Great
is
run.
Xillia
I
1.
hope everybody enjoyed.
For another year, hopefully we get to do Jude's story next year. We can only hope that,
I mean, if you submitted.
yeah, if I can get in enough time grinding the fights to make it actually consistent enough.
And so did
Yeah.
you, Gaius. Didn't you?
Anyways, so
And what does it
thank you
mean
once
that
again,
matter
and
now?
we're gonna go on and switch over to
I may
Tales of
appear
Graces
to be
F,
tough and
run
tough
by
enough,
Fel.
but I was
Fel,
scared
so.
witless throughout the
Definitely
He's
wish Fel
back.
good luck. I think you might need it, but
I'm still just
Yeah.
a small
Oh yeah, he's gonna
It's
need
gonna
it.
be something.
yeah.
I
Good luck, Fel.